Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto is quiet and smart part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. How are you feeling, Naruto? A boy, no older than 8 years old, kept his eyes down, trying to ignore the Sandaime Hokage's eyes. He'd seen them like this before, solemn and old, tired and fading. Naruto hated the Hokage for getting old, or at least, getting older still. The old man had always been ancient, but with each loss and death he seemed to slouch lower, groan louder. The child had no idea how much more the old man could handle. I feel fine, Chi-chan. Braving a smile, he managed to look at his grandfather in all but blood. You don't have to worry about me. Fighting his quivering lips, Naruto turned away, looking down at his book, trying to ignore his tear-stained vision. I understand, he whispered, not everyone comes home. Tora was a proud member of the ANBU. He was one of the elites, the very best of Konoha, and he had done his duty to the last. Naruto felt the old man sit down next to him, his joints cracking as he did. If not for him, the rest of his team would have died alongside him. As captain, he sacrificed himself to save his subordinates, his comrades. He is a hero. Naruto tensed and whispered, but nobody knows. Naruto, look outside, Chi-chan. Everything is normal. Nobody knows about Tora and I. Such is the life of a shinobi, of an ANBU member. Shinobi are people who endure. Sometimes our sacrifices don't come with accolades or even recognition, but those are not the reasons we fight. We take on the brunt of this world and fend against it so we can protect the people we love. Your Tora and I and every Konoha shinobi who died before him gave their lives for the safety of our people, of our village. Just like my parents, the boy managed, tears running down his face. And Shursui and I, Marine, Sora and I, Lilane, there are a lot of names we owe our lives to, Naruto. The Hokage gently placed a hand on Naruto's head. This is a lesson that you've learned far too early, my boy. When I'm older, I'll do my part too. Wiping his tears away, Naruto looked at the Hokage. I'll become strong and protect everyone. His voice grew soft as he looked away again. I don't want to feel like this again. I'll become so strong that I won't feel like this again. We should all strive to become strong to protect, but you are too young to bear such a responsibility. Try not to grow up too quickly, Naruto. One of the greatest boons of peacetime is children being able to be children. Don't spend so much time in the barracks. You're old enough now to go outside by yourself. Meet some of the other children your age and make some friends who aren't ANBU. Naruto gave a soft smile, his tears drying. I'll try, Chi-chan. The old man nodded, eyes still furrowed. That's all I ask? I'll leave you alone with your book. Naruto nodded back, biting his lip. Thank you, Chi-chan. I'm proud of you, Naruto. Never forget that. The chibi of ANBU. The baby boy of Konoha. Our little fish cake. Uzumaki Naruto had many names and even more older siblings. Being the only child to have been raised entirely in the ANBU barracks, he was everyone's little brother. His first word was Kaka and his second word was Ni. ANBU Commander Ryu helped him take his first steps and also demanded to give him his first haircut. His nursery, a small room in the middle of the ANBU living quarters, became one of the busiest spots in the entire barracks. For one reason or another, nearly every ANBU member found their way to visit the boy, either to listen to him giggle while giving him a bubble bath or to change his diaper as punishment. The boy was an orphan, but he had the biggest family in Konoha. He was happy as can be, joyously jumping into the arms of returning siblings, not a care for their muddy or sometime bloody armor. Laughing uproariously as he was tossed from one brother to another sister like a hyperactive ball. He was so happy that Sarutobi Hiruzen rejoiced that he made the right decision. There were only two choices: allow Naruto to fend for himself at the orphanage or have him grow up with the most elite trained assassins in the elemental nations. The Hokage took quite a long time to decide on the child's fate, but Danzo gave him little choice with his blunder. The rumor of the Sandaime Hokage sealing the Kyuubi into a baby started to circulate, and as much as Hiruzen loved his people, he had no faith in human decency or intelligence in the face of anger and vengeance. Naruto would be raised by the ANBU, hidden away from the village. The rumors would die down after a few years, and when the boy would grow up, he could seamlessly rejoin the village as the son of Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina. It was the right call. Sure, there may have been some bad birthday presents. Leave it to the ANBU members to give a 5-year-old boy a real tanto and explosive tags. But with the right supervision, Naruto grew to become a well-mannered, disciplined, and intelligent boy. Already fluent in ANBU code and hand signals, he was an honorary member. Just last year, ANBU Commander Ryu gave him a mini-sized ANBU uniform complete with a dog mask. Ever since Naruto was born, the ANBU barracks had been filled with squeals and laughter, genuine happiness not seen since the founding of the village. The only downside, Naruto had lost many of his siblings. He'll be okay, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen looked at Inu. Yes, he will be. He is his parents' child, but this is not healthy. You of all people should understand, Kakashi. I do, but there is no better alternative. Remember, not only does Naruto not have the mental fortitude of the likes of you, you are all his family. You lost a comrade in Tora, But he lost a big brother. Things will change soon. Kakashi looked down at his little brother who looked like a mini clone of his old sensei. You were right, Hokage-sama. The rumors of Akubi Jinchuriki are all but gone and no one will spare a glance at him. Nico had brought him to the park to play many times now and nothing had happened. Just a few years more and he can officially become a genin and be given his father's name. That's good. The old man paused to ask, did he make any friends at the park? Kakashi chuckled, no. Unfortunately, Naruto has never seen other children his age before, so he was a bit apprehensive. He just pushed himself on the swings for the most part. I had to stop Nico from going to push him herself. The Hokage smiled at the thought. But I'm sure sooner or later, he will manage to meet some friends. I hope so. Peering through his crystal ball, the Sandaime watched as Naruto read his newest book, his short legs swinging in his seat, clearly already regaining his usual energy. That book he is reading, mentioned the Hokage. Have you seen it? No, Hokage-sama. The Fundamentals of Fuinjutsu, Volume 2. The old man smiled. He blasted through the first one in a week. I had Commander Ryu check if he actually understood any of it, and he was delighted to report that Naruto took to Fuinjutsu like a fish in water. He is as talented as his mother. Kakashi nodded. Did Jiraiya-sama send him those books? Yes, he did. He has a whole reading list planned out for the boy. Only on Fuinjutsu? For now, but be on guard for some of my students' more passionate works. Kakashi held in a chuckle. I'm sure Jiraiya-sama will wait until Naruto is a genin before showing him those books. The ANBU captain glanced at Naruto. But if he really is as talented as Kushina-sensei, would you have him focus on a career in the Sealing Corp? He's shown promise in ninjutsu as well. Basically everybody has been teaching him things under the table, so I'm sure he will do well in the regular forces as well. We'll give him the choice once the time comes, but as Minato has proven, he can be both a seal master and an elite jonin. Kakashi nodded. I very much look forward to it. As do I, my boy. At first, it was only once a week, but Naruto's visit to the park had become increasingly frequent. Much to the relief of his ever-worrisome family, the boy had finally grown accustomed to leaving the barracks. He'd still only explored a small part of Konoha, but his time in the sun had finally given him some color to his pale cheeks. His spiky blonde hair eerily resembled his father's, down to the twin bangs framing his face. Combined with his azure blue eyes, one would only need a shred of cognitive reasoning to see the connection between the boy and the yondaime, but as usual, none were the smarter. Sure, some in the ANBU had made the connection, but none were lacking enough to voice their discovery. One glance at the closeness between the ever-cold and ruthless Kakashi and the perpetually giggling Naruto, their actual brotherly bond, was enough reason to stay silent. Sharingan no Kakashi was keen on keeping his late sensei's only son safe, and had in no small words claimed the boy as his own student when the time would come. Walking into the park, Kakashi held onto Naruto's hood. The boy had refused to hold hands with his siblings for a few months already, much to the heartbreak of some of his siblings, and he marveled at the similarity between the Naruto and his father. Perhaps they were being a bit too cavalier. Naruto even dressed like his father did as a child. Jiraiya had sent Naruto a white hoodie that looked identical to the one his father had worn on the daily. Naruto looked so much like his father, Kakashi could practically see Kushina pummeling Minato-sensei in heaven because his genes were being unfairly dominant. Kaka and I, came the almost whiny voice of Naruto, you don't need to babysit me anymore. The boy said with a small pout. Yugane just leaves me at the park. You don't have to hover over me like this. Kakashi, for once not dressed in his ANBU garb, his face only half hidden with a cloth mask, I smiled at his brother. Fine, I'll leave you be, but remember to signal to me once you're done playing. Ruffling the boy's spiky hair, he chuckled, try to meet some friends today. There are some cute girls playing on the swings, go join them. Just go, Kaka and I. Naruto shoved his brother's hand away. I'm not a little kid. Chuckling again, Kakashi jumped away. Sure you're not, Chibi. Spring had come again and children swarmed the parks in droves. It was a cloudless Saturday with a soft breeze through the trees. Not even the strictest of parents could deny their children such a beautiful day in the sun. Dozens of children packed into this one park and hundreds more filled the large field and green clearing that surrounded it. Looking around, Naruto saw many picnic blankets scattered along the grassy field, each one a family enjoying lunch. It was an unfamiliar feeling, the yearning for something lost, but had never had. The boy never met his father, but he often wondered what it would have been like to ride on his shoulders. He never met his mother, but he wondered what her food would taste like. It was a paralyzing train of thought, and Naruto had been down that particular path too many times to be trapped again. Shaking his head, he ran off. He figured it wasn't too far away from the hero's memorial. After all, he'd been there a few times already. But even at the tender age of 8, he knew better than to honor his heroes empty-handed. He kept running, away from the crowds and deeper into the trees. The canopies grew thick and blocked most of the noon sun, and the rowdy Saturday noise were silenced by the steady buzzing of cicadas. He ran faster, enjoying the warm wind against his skin as he sped through the forest, his strides becoming wider and his leaps farther, his eyes relaxing to let the world pass him by in a mirage of fleeting images. Finally, he felt better. The park was far too crowded for this liking. His home was never that busy nor as loud, and he didn't want another wayward mother asking him why he was alone and where were his parents. Closing his eyes, Naruto could feel all around him. It was an ability his Jichan once described as sensory, the ability to detect the presence of others by their chakra. Apparently his father had this ability as well, and while it was not the most unique of skills, Naruto was happy to share something with his father. It was useful. Focused, Naruto could see without seeing. He felt the flow of chakra in the trees around him, all connected by their roots, surging deep into the ground. From these mighty roots were born a system of life, from small blades of grass to stretching bushels. But he was looking for something more delicate. His blue eyes snapped open with a smile. He'd found some. There we go, he whispered softly to himself as he jumped to a small clearing. Flowers. It was a field of flowers, a rainbow on land. Wow, there are so many different kinds. He bit his lip and scratched the back of his head. How am I supposed to choose? Suddenly he felt a presence in front of him. It was a small chakra signature, one smaller than his own and much smaller than his siblings. It was soft and delicate, not unlike the flowers around him, and it gave a purple hue. He looked on ahead at the direction he sensed, but could see nothing in a field of golden flowers, blowing in the wind, except a small bunch of golden tresses that went against the wind that stood up. It was a small girl, probably around his age. She had shoulder-length golden hair that matched the golden flowers around her, a shade much lighter than his own. It looked soft and silky, also much unlike his own spiky mess, held from her face with a small blue hair clip. She was also wearing a yellow sweater, almost camouflaging into the flowers, and looked as if she was floating in the wind. Naruto stared at her until he noticed he was staring. Awkwardly waving his hand, he smiled. Hi, came the reply, her voice quiet in the wind. What are? A strong breeze blew through the clearing, covering her voice. It washed through them and the flowers and seemed to make her glow even brighter. Naruto was mesmerized. Hesitantly, he walked towards her, careful not to step on any flowers in the way. She was looking at him, and as he approached, he saw that she had blue eyes as well, but again a lighter shade than his own. She was holding her hair from her face, her hair clip not enough to fight the winds, and he finally saw her clearly. He'd heard many of his siblings describe him as such, but never before this moment did Naruto know that someone could look so cute. Sorry, he managed to whisper over the wind, I couldn't hear you before. What were you saying? The girl looked at him and tilted her head. I said, what are you doing here? Stammered Naruto, looking away from her soft gaze. I was looking for some flowers. She smiled widely and he felt his heart stricken. Well, you found the best place for that. This field and the next one over belongs to the Yamanaka clan. You may have heard of our flower shop in town. Here is where we grow all our flowers. Oh, he replied dumbly, managing to look back into her eyes. Sorry, I didn't mean to trespass. I was running through the woods and I must have missed a sign or something. She waved him off, still smiling like the sun. Don't worry about it. He lost his breath looking at her. He felt his fingers tingle and heart race, and the sun had never felt hotter on his face. He saw her lips move, but for the life of him, he couldn't comprehend anything. Sorry, can you say again? He asked with a nervous grin. She giggled, You're funny. He lost feeling in his legs. I asked what you are looking for. Is this for your mom or something? No, he managed. No, this is for my brother. Reality came rushing back to him. Toranai. His goofy laugh and warm hugs came back to him. Suddenly the warm day felt a bit colder. Naruto calmed, looking at her with a smile. I'm looking for some lilies. Lilies! Her smile grew and immediately he felt warmer. We have some over here. She gestured to follow her, and he watched as she skipped and hopped over the flower beds, and he swore it should be the new definition of cute. Careful with his steps, he followed her closely, and he realized that she was small, a few inches shorter than him at least. Maybe she was a bit younger than him, he couldn't tell, but she was the first person he'd ever talked to who was smaller than him. Lilies are an odd choice, though. They were nearing the tree line and the winds were softer there. Her voice sounded sharp and clear now. They can mean innocence or purity, or even rebirth. Is this for your big brother or little brother? Big brother. Really? She asked. What the occasion? They stopped at another flower bed and she looked back at him. As much as he tried, he could stop the sad smile. No occasion, but I read that it's the most common flower used for mourning. Her smile vanished and he felt worse. Oh, I'm sorry. He braved a smile, hoping to reignite hers. Don't be. You didn't know. She rewarded him with a small grin, her hands behind her back. But here we are. We have a few types, but this here is the Lilium auratum, the golden rayed lily. I think it's the most beautiful lily, and it's actually native here in Hino Kuni. She gently plucked 3 stems from the plant and held them close. They were big flowers and beautiful to behold. Wide and long white petals dusted with flickers of gold. They smelled very sweet. I'm sure your brother will love them. She daintily offered them to him, and he shakily took them. Thank you, Oh. She exclaimed, giggling, Right, my name is Yamanaka Ino. Remembering to use the last name Jichan told him to use, he replied, My name is Uzumaki Naruto. It's nice to meet you, Ino-chan. Chan? She asked with a sly smile, and already calling me by my first name? Naruto blushed to his roots, as sorry, Yamanaka-san, he managed to stammer as she giggled. I figured you're younger than me and though well, I don't really She laughed, her shoulders shaking. It's okay, you can call me Ino-chan. Everyone calls me Ino-chan. He relaxed, rubbing the back of his head with a shy grin. But I'm 8 years old. How old are you? Oh, I'm 8 years old too. Really? She asked and he nodded. You're quite a bit taller than me. He was still rubbing the back of his head, I guess. She grinned. Well, are you going to take those back now? Oh, right. He exclaimed loudly, making her giggle again. I will. Thank you, Ino-chan. I'll ask my sister to pay you back at your flower shop. Ino waved him off. No way, don't worry about it. No, I can't do that. It's fine. Honestly, I sometimes feed the animals with some of these flowers, so don't worry about it. Naruto reluctantly nodded. Okay, if you're sure. She nodded with a grin. I am. Thank you, Ino-chan. Cool, then let's go. She was looking at him expectantly, and he stared back, slowly blushing at her stare. Are you coming with me? He asked hesitantly. Yep, really? Why? I have nothing else to do today. My parents dropped me off at the park to play, but none of my friends were there. I came here to check on the flowers to pass the time, but following you seems more interesting. Ino stared up at him, non-blinking. But I don't have to come if you don't want me to. No! He yelled, I mean yes. She giggled and he wanted to punch himself. I mean no, I don't mind, and yes, I do want you to come. Great, then let's go. It had been a surreal day to say the least, and it was barely past lunchtime. Stepping out of the flower field, the two children make their way back to the beaten path, walking under the wide canopies back to the park. It certainly felt much farther on the way back for Naruto. For reasons he cannot fathom, his hands were shaking, his heart was beating against his chest, and his face felt hot even when walking in the shade. Glancing to his side, he saw Ino walking with a spring in her step, a soft hum on her lips, her eyes perpetually shining like pale diamonds. He realized he was staring again. What's the matter? She noticed it too. Nothing. He managed a smile. It's a hot day, so I'm wondering if you're thirsty or something. She shrugged, a little bit, but water we use for the fields isn't for drinking and the water fountain at the park is totally gross. Oh, then here. Naruto pulled his sleeve up to reveal a small seal marked on his forearm. He could feel Ino staring at him and his face grew hotter, but he ignored it and sent a pulse of chakra into the seal. With a puff of smoke emerged 2 bottles of water. Glad he didn't mess up on his chakra control. He could have accidentally summoned the entire dozen he sealed into the mark. He happily handed one over to Ino. Here you go. Ino slowly reached for the bottle, but still stared at him, wide-eyed. How did you do that? She grabbed his arm, making him blush again, looking at his seal in bewilderment. I've never seen anything like that before. Did you use chakra? Can you already use chakra? I can barely make that stupid leaf float. That was a standard storage seal. Just instead of using a scroll, I marked the seal on my arm using ink. Its capacity is much smaller than what you have fit into even a smaller scroll, but it's better than carrying around a backpack. She just stared at him, her eyes bright and shining so much that he had to look away. This one is for water. He pulled his sleeve back more to reveal another seal, mindful of the flowers in his hand. This one is for some ration bars in case of emergencies. He pulled back his other sleeve. I have my basic weapons pack sealed into this one. Just your standard issue shuriken and kunai. Pulling further up, he revealed another mark. This one I've never really used, but it's a first aid kit. My Ji-chan always says I should have it with me just in case. Wow, who taught you this? No one really? He smiled shyly. My godfather sent me a few books on Jutsu and I learned from there. It's pretty cool and useful. I used to hate carrying my backpack everywhere, especially when it's hot like today, but now I don't feel any heavier and can carry even more on me. That is super useful. Can you teach me how to do it? He grinned. Of course. I don't have my ink and brush with me today, but I'll bring them with me next time. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Naruto cursed the sun for his burning face. Why, you're welcome, Ino-chan. If it wasn't for the sudden loud noises, either Naruto nor Ino would have noticed they've already made their way back to the park. For once, Naruto's sensory abilities failed him as most of his attention was focused on his new friend. Almost absent-mindedly, they made their way through the park, just a couple of kids in the hundreds, and headed for the hero's memorial. How come I've never seen you at the academy before? Naruto tilted his head. I'm not enrolled at the academy. Huh, but you know how to use chakra. Don't you want to become a ninja? He smiled. I do, but I'm learning at home right now. My Ji-chan is teaching me the bookwork they teach at the academy and my other siblings are teaching me the rest. What about your parents? Naruto gave a sad smile again, and he saw Ino flinch. No, my parents died during the Kyuubi attack. I live with my siblings and Ji-chan. Ino had her head down. I'm sorry. I'll stop asking so many questions. No, don't be. He smiled at her, a genuine smile. Ask me whatever you want. This is the first time I'm even talking to someone my age. This is fun. Don't you have friends our age? Ino smacked herself on the forehead. Sorry, another stupid question. He chuckled. I come to the park sometimes, but I don't really know how to talk to people my age. You're talking just fine with me. Still smiling. I know. This is fun. Ino finally smiled again. Well, come find me whenever you're at the park. I'm usually here on weekends. Okay. The Heroes Memorial was within sight. It was a huge dugout of an area, at least the size of your standard ANBU training arena, and it was sunken into the ground. Statues and monuments were built along the edges of the ceremonial ground, each depicting the epic feats of the fallen heroes of Konoha. There was an urban legend Naruto had heard from his siblings, that this dugout area was the result of one of the Shodai Hokage's punches. Legend went that the Shodai had lost someone precious to him in war, and in anger and grief, he punched the ground with such power that it hollowed out the earth. In honor of the Shodai Hokage, the crater he created would house the Heroes Memorial. Naruto didn't know if it was a true story, but he chose to believe in it. Walking into the place, countless graves marked the ground, each one a fallen hero. At the very center of the field was a monument for the Will of Fire, and that was where Naruto headed. As he looked around and saw barely a few souls paying their respects, he thought back to his conversation with the Hokage. It was just a normal day for normal people, and no one knew the lengths his brother went through to secure the safety of the village. Ino stood back as Naruto approached the cold pyre. These are for you, Tora and I. Naruto whispered as he placed the flowers on the marble base, willing his tears away. I hope you like them. He paused and stared at the monument. I really miss you. He bowed low, his hand by his side. Thank you for protecting our home and our family, my family. He looked to the sky, not letting his tears fall. I promise you, Tora and I'll become strong, so strong that none of my loved ones will need to die. I'll protect everyone so no one else has to. I promise, Tora and I, wiping his eyes dry, to turn back to Ino, smiling at her. Are you okay? She asked softly, gently holding his sleeve. Yes, I feel much better now. He looked her in the eyes. Thank you for coming here with me. She shook her head. Don't worry about it. Ino looked to the pyre and bowed also, saying a silent prayer, Naruto assumed. He turned to the pyre and bowed again with her. In silence, they turned away, walking back where they came from. I've never been there before, Ino muttered as they climbed the steps, leaving the memorial. I've passed by, but never been in there. I hope you never have to again, Ino-chan. They walked in silence, but it was no longer awkward for Naruto. A weight had left his shoulders and he stood a little straighter. There was a clear goal for the future, to become strong. He had to become stronger than Tora and I, stronger than his Ji-chan, stronger than every fallen hero in the memorial. Become so strong, he could protect everyone by himself, and no one in his family would have to be in danger anymore. Do you have anything planned for tomorrow, Naruto-kun? Ino's voice broke Naruto away from his thoughts. No, not really. Ji-chan gives me weekends off, so I have nothing to do. Ino grinned. Well, in that case, come back to the park tomorrow. I can introduce you to my friends and we can all play together. Really? Asked Naruto with a hopeful smile. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I'll be there, he answered back. Thank you, Ino-chan. Naruto had watched his siblings prepare for missions his entire life. At the call of a scarcely different dull tone played over the intercom, a specific team would emerge from their rooms, sometimes dressed only in their underwear, and they would silently speed toward the armory. The boy had timed them once, and never had any of them taken longer than half a minute to be fully donned in their armor and mask. Immediately after, they'd all flicker to the arsenal, arming their bodies as much as their mission required. Lastly, the team's captain would take stock of their equipment and resources, and Naruto dreamed of the day he could be like his siblings. Never had he thought it had come so quickly. How many bottles of water do you have sealed in your arm? Asked ANBU Commander Ryu, his mighty dragon mask in full snarl. 12, Commander. Naruto ignored the giggles around him. Have you prepared rations? Naruto nodded with the straightest back he could possibly give. Yes, Commander. Standard procedure. Enough for 3 days beyond mission requirement. What weapons have you collected from the arsenal? 20 kunai, 75 shuriken, 25 feet of ninja wire, 10 explosive tags, and 1 tanto. All have been inspected this morning and have been declared fit for battle. Naruto tapped his forearm. I have also taken the liberty of packing my ink and brush. I may have to aid my friend in creating a storage seal of her own. Very well, the commander noted. Do you still have your first aid kit? Yes, Commander. Fully stocked and accounted for, sir. Naruto could practically feel the giddiness of his sisters, all huddled behind him whispering to themselves. Their masks did little to hide their excitement. It was the least professional Naruto had ever seen them, and it was ruining his first debriefing. He shoved down a pout and continued to refer to the commander, back straight and eyes forward. Good, the commander praised, making the boy resist a grin. Well done, Chibi. Thank you, Commander. The towering beacon of a man knelt down to Naruto, his tone softer. Now, what snacks have you prepared for today? I'm unfamiliar with the latest tastes of children these days. Naruto scratched the back of his head, losing his composure at the mention of his least familiar subject. Yugaone packed me some pudding cups, Nanane gave me some lollipops, Mizune baked me some chocolate chip cookies, and Shikine gave me some money in case I need to buy more snacks. That sounds like enough, added the commander, though I am concerned that we are dealing with so many unknown factors. Make sure to jot down some mental notes as the day progresses. It is imperative we have more information the next time you have a playdate. Ryu lowered his head in thought. Reminder, we are dealing with the heiress to the Yamanaka clan. They are a skilled shinobi family within Konoha and are the foremost experts in mind infiltration abilities. While you are only a novice when it comes to mental defenses, we will also assume that she is a novice in her clan techniques. We have no advantage in this case, but it should be safe to proceed. Duly noted, Commander. I expect a full report upon your return. Commander Ryu stood tall again, nodded at the young soldier. Dismissed, Chibi, finally! Cried his sisters. Like a rag doll, Naruto was dragged into the familiar arms of his older sisters. Bracing himself for the familiar onslaught, the boy held his breath as his face was tightly stuffed against their suffocating chests, turning his head to the left so they would only kiss his right cheek. His left was still sore from yesterday, and made sure to tighten his legs as they proceeded to tightly hug and fling him from side to side. Despite his efforts, he failed. Gasping for air, Naruto pushed Yagane face back. "Nei-chan, I can't breathe." Giggling, the ANBU warrior loosened her grip, opting to just hold him in her arms. "Sorry, Naruto-chan, but you just look so cute." His four sisters all swarmed him with pats and kisses, all serious and professional while talking about snacks. "Did we have to dress him like this, though?" asked Mizu. "What do you mean?" exclaimed Nana. "Naruto-chan looks so handsome." The four women looked at their favorite person, dressed in custom-made black shinobi utility pants that blended seamlessly with the smallest 9th edition, black Konoha ANBU urban combat boots ever made, complete with shock absorption and cooling abilities. A custom-fitted dark gray fishnet shirt covered his torso, and it fitted nicely under a new white, high-collar jacket Jiraiya-sama had sent the boy just a week prior. True to his heritage, a golden Uzumaki symbol graced the back of the jacket with golden chains running along the sleeves. "Our little heartbreaker." Nanane squeezed his cheeks and kissed his forehead. "You're growing up, Naru. Going on playdates already. I can almost see us doing this again when you go on your first date." Mizu, wearing her fierce viper mask, snatched the boy into her arms, holding him protectively. "No, Naru-chan, don't listen to her. You don't get to date until you're 18, understand?" She stepped back as Nana attempted to retrieve the boy. "And no girl will ever be good enough for my Naru-chan." "Relax, Mizu," came the calmest voice of the four. "He's only 8 years old. We have at least another 8 years before it might actually happen. That's plenty of time to vet all the available girls his age, give or take a 5-year age difference." "How outdated are you, Shiki?" Nana shook her head at the older woman. "Girls these days are different. They're not like how we were. I've seen that Uchiha boy get swarmed by every girl in his entire class, and he's not even half as cute as Naru-chan. As soon as our little chibi becomes a genin or even goes to the academy, they'll try to get their claws on him. Mizu leaked some killer intent. They shall taste the cold sting of my blade." Yugao crossed her arms with a smirk. "When Naru-chan grows up, I'm not even worried about the little girls. I'm worried about our new recruits. When would the newbies stop seeing Naru-chan as a little brother, and start seeing him as a possible target?" Mizu turned to Commander Ryu. "Commander, I request to personally vet all new recruits as soon as Naru-chan starts puberty." "Denied." "Commander, Chibi has a mission to complete, and the 4 of you need to report to Hokage-sama. I've already given you more than enough time to catch up with Chibi." Even with the masks, the girls couldn't hide their disappointment. "Now go, and I'd better not find out you've skimmed through your report. I don't mind you for watching over Chibi on his playdate, but while you're on duty, I expect your fullest professionalism." "Hi, Commander," came 4 voices, finally regaining their posture. Mizu placed Naruto on the ground, rubbing her mask against his hair. "Have fun today, Naru." Each sister came for one more hug. "Remember to be nice and polite, but always stand up for yourself if someone tries to bully you. We'll all be watching over you, so if you're in trouble, signal us and we'll eliminate the enemy." Naruto giggled at his sisters, used to their antics. "I will, Nei-chan." "Thank you." One collective squeal and group hug later, Naruto was finally left alone with the commander. "I'll be on my way, Commander." Ryu nodded. "May the will of fire warm you on your journey, Chibi." Naruto had never left the barracks on his own before. It gave him an odd, but excited feeling. Jumping through the well-hidden gates, he found himself already at the center of Konoha, crowds of people bustling from all directions. The partly cloudy Sunday was clearly nowhere as busy and active when compared to the cloudless Saturday of yesterday, but it was still much more crowded than what Naruto was used to. Employing the ANBU silent breathing technique, Naruto leveled his breathing, calmed his body, and stepped into the village by himself for the first time. Mission start. Kakashi and Commander Ryu's lessons quickly became useful. Blend into a crowd by slipping through the shadows of others. Find and keep pace with the slowest walker in the area, then work your way up to the fastest, slipping from one person to another in a zigzag pattern, silent and deadly. Before long, Naruto had left the loud commercial district that surrounded the ANBU barracks, and sped his way to the park. This part of the journey he made many times before, always in broad daylight. Today was no different. he repeated to himself. Following the gusts of the winds, Naruto eliminated his scent from everyone save the Inuzuka and ninja hounds, and traveled under the shadows of the tall buildings. Almost absent-mindedly, he counted that he'd passed by 127 people, a skill and habit Commander Ryu and Kakashi had drilled into his mind ever since he could count. 127 possible enemies evaded. Charting course to the park, the sounds of children's laughter could be heard, meaning the park was near. Leaving the shadows, Naruto expressed a face of apathy, as described by Commander Ryu as attentive, but relaxed almost to the point of laziness. Confidently, he walked into the park, his eyes lazily scanning every small detail around him, and memorizing all escape routes, categorized in an order of availability and probability. He was every bit the ANBU member he strived to be. In this elevated state, he could betray no emotion, no sudden expressions, and give only controlled reactions. Naruto-kun! In an instant, his mind overloaded. His eyes widened, jaw opened silently, arms and legs tensed, shoulders lifted, and most obviously, his face burned. He could almost hear the commander's voice yelling fail, but he still managed to react. Ino-chan, she was even cuter than yesterday. Naruto was flustered, angry at himself for not foreseeing such a possibility. In his mind, Yamanaka Ino in the flower fields was already the absolute pinnacle of cuteness. But he was wrong. By orders of magnitude, he was wrong. He had never anticipated Yamanaka Ino in a golden sundress with a golden hairband holding her golden angel hair in place. In what other ways could she possibly stymie him? It was innumerable. There are too many possibilities. His preparation and training could never match her limitless arsenal of cuteness. She giggled and his heart almost stopped. Sorry, did I scare you? I didn't mean to jump at you like that, but I was excited to see you again. Her eyes shone like eternal starlight, and he could barely look at them. I didn't know if you were actually going to come today, he gulped. Of course I came. I've been looking forward to this all day. Her smile widened and his smile followed. It was as if she was utilizing the Nara clan's shadow possession techniques, controlling his body with her own. So far, this mission had many unforeseen difficulties, and his ANBU training was failing him, or he was failing his ANBU training. Really? She jumped closer to him, bouncing on her feet, her eyes shining even brighter. Me too. I haven't made a new friend in a long time. Her words broke deep into his heart, shattering all of his mental defenses, as expected of the Yamanaka heiress. Her potential was immeasurable. In the face of such an opponent, Naruto could do nothing other than extol his true thoughts. You are actually the first friend I've ever made, Ino-chan. Telling the truth felt cathartic and liberating. Naruto gained new insight regarding the victims of interrogation. I wouldn't have missed this for the world. Ino's cheeks were growing red, possibly due to the zenith heat. Perhaps it wasn't as cloudy as he thought. Should he offer her another bottle of water? But would that lead to a conversation about Fuinjutsu again? Would she want him to draw her seal immediately? He brought all his materials, but they had no stable foundation like a table or bench. It could possibly affect the end result. No, failure in front of Ino was unacceptable. He would wait until they settled down at a table or bench, then he would offer her water. I am? She asked quietly. It took Naruto a second to catch on to her reference. Yes, I've never had a friend before. I don't leave home that often, and since I am also homeschooled, I don't get to meet anyone my age at all. He smiled as his emotions took over. I'm so happy I met you yesterday. Ino's face grew redder still. It was not good. He must bring her into the shade immediately. It's getting hot, so let's go find a spot in the shade. He inwardly awarded himself a high five for keeping a steady voice. Sure, she stuttered. Maybe she was more uncomfortable with the heat than he thought. Speech impediment was a sign of heat stroke, specifically slurred speech. Ino was not quite displaying such a symptom, but he could not take the risk. Come on, we have to hurry. He grabbed her hand, which was sweaty. Another symptom of heat stroke. He ran as quickly as she could, his eyes frantically searching for a large tree, and he was rewarded with a towering oak with a near-empty shadow and a very enticing vacant bench by its trunk. With quick glances and counting in his head, there were 22 people standing between them and the bench, 10 of which were heading for that direction, and the bench can only see 2. It was a race. Grasping Ino's hand tighter, he led her through the crowd, ignoring the odd smile the wondering adults were sending their way. Only a bit farther, Ino-chan. Oh, okay, came her weak voice. No. She was becoming weak. Finally, another 8 seconds passed, and they were coolly sitting on the shaded bench, back against the cold and refreshing wood. That was close, he muttered, smiling at Ino. Are you feeling better now? I'm sorry, I should have known better than to talk under the hot sun. Leaning closer to her, he gently placed a hand on her forehead, and she was burning. Her eyes were wide and she looked like a tomato. Was she going to faint? That could be deadly. He hadn't packed any ice packs. How could he have been so careless? This entire mission was a dark mark he could never erase from his records. He could already sense the disappointment of his family. Ino-chan, try to relax and drink some water. He tried to pull his sleeve up to unseal the water, but this jacket had no stretch. It wouldn't pull up high enough. Cursing himself and his godfather for using such faulty equipment, he took off his jacket, leaving him bare in his fishnet shirt, which was now clinging to him because of his nervous perspiration. Sorry, stupid jacket was blocking my seal. He tapped on the seal and summoned the bottle of water, and it was still cold. Please, Ino-chan, you have to drink this as soon as possible. You're burning up. Heat strokes are very dangerous. Here, I'll open it for you. He slid closer to her, his leg brushing against hers, and he felt a jolt of electricity through him. Perhaps she was a right-hand user, but he couldn't dwell on that thought. He gently lifted the bottle to her lips, staring pleadingly into her eyes. Please drink, he whispered, but she wasn't moving. Please, Ino-chan. Slowly she tilted her head back and he gladly poured the bottle for her, smiling in relief as she drank as much as she needed. He had salvaged the mission. His friendship with Ino was still possible. There you go, he said softly, pulling the bottle back once she finished over half. You should be feeling better soon. Ino stared at him, wide-eyed and still burning red. Thank you, Naruto-kun. He gave her his widest grin. No problem, Ino-chan. Anything to make you feel better. Unknown to the young duo, above them in the canopy of the oak tree, under a veil of shadows, hid 4 ANBU members. Each suppressed their chakra to their lowest point, all knowing of Naruto's sensory abilities. Together, these 4 agents had completed over 500 missions ranging from A to S ranked, and all have been on more recon missions than they cared to count, but never had it been harder for 3 of the 4 of them to remain silent than now. Yugao, wearing her cat mask, pinched herself on the thigh, desperately trying to stifle her laughter. The ever-prepared kunoichi, she had brought along with her a parabolic microphone and video camera, and she would forever thank whatever power above for allowing her to capture this moment on tape. Don't laugh, Nana whispered, biting into her lip to stop herself. Yugao, her shoulders trembling, replied, I can't. Shiki, holding her breath, managed to realize that 4 branches conveniently surrounded them. Forming a hand sign, she quickly attached 4 tags on them and whispered, silencing barrier. It took a total of 5 seconds to fully envelop them, and it was the longest 5 seconds of their lives. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ha 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 ha. Yugao nearly fell from the tree as tears pooled behind her mask, clutching onto a branch. I got it on tape. I got it on tape. No, please, managed Nana between gasps. I'm going to pee myself. Shiki, huddled in a corner, trembled and shook in laughter, clutching her stomach. Oh, it hurts. Mizu, the only one not laughing, crossed her arms and shook her head. You 3 are ridiculous. This is not funny. Clearly our little brother has been corrupted. Yugao choked between breaths of laughter, swatted at Mizu's leg. Stop, I am also going to pee myself. Ugh, laugh it off, Mizu muttered. I'll wait. It took a full 5 minutes, and they were nearly exhausted after. Mizu, welcoming the silence and between giggles, continued, we have a problem on our hands. Clearly, cried Nana, you were worried about the girls? I am worried for the girls. We have a budding heartbreaker on our hands. Yugao leaned against Shiki. He took off his jacket. The laughter returned, and bottle fed her. Shiki settled down into a chuckle. That poor girl never knew what hit her. Calm down, ladies. Mizu sighed. Yes, I am no longer concerned about the girls, but we have a much bigger problem on our hands. Clearly someone has been teaching Naruto to behave inappropriately. If I had to guess, I'd blame this on Kakashi. He's become quite brazen lately with his reading material. But Hokage-sama or even Commander Ryu wouldn't be out of the question. Clearly Hokage-sama shares similar interests as Kakashi, and we never know what the commander is thinking. Killer intent was leaking from her, but the main cause of our problem is one of the legendary Sannin, Jiraiya-sama. Yugao sent Nana and Shiki a look, rolling her eyes. Jiraiya-sama hasn't been in the village for years. Mizu. No, but he has been sending Naruto books to read. Who knows what he slipped in between those few Injutsu volumes. Either way, they are just children. I'm sure Naruto had no idea what he was actually doing and was genuinely trying to save the girl from a heat stroke. Nana erupted in laughter again. Shiki looked over at Yugao. Please send me a copy of the tape. Yugao grinned. Oh, I'm giving this to everyone in the barracks. Naruto and Ino sat in silence with the boy diligently watching the girl. It took a long while, but her face finally cooled down, and she had since finished the bottle of water, by herself. But now her gaze barely met his eyes, and he wondered if she was mad at him. Had he been too rough while pulling her into the shade? Perhaps she didn't want help with the bottle. Again, there were just too many variables concerning Yamanaka Ino. Are you feeling better? Ino nodded meekly, shyly glancing at his worried eyes. Much better. I'm okay now, Naruto-kun. Great. He rubbed the back of his head. I'm sorry for being so forceful before. I was scared you were going to pass out from the heat. No, Ino quickly squeaked. It's okay. They sat in silence again, but were much more comfortable this time. A soft breeze blew into the clearing, loudly ruffling the leaves above them, and they both cooled down significantly. So Naruto began, breaking the silence. Where are your other friends? I thought you were all playing here today. Ino gave Naruto a small smile and shook her head. No, it's just me. She sighed. We do usually meet here to play, but they weren't here yesterday either. She frowned, and Naruto was flooded with worry. I don't think we're friends anymore. I had a fight with them a few days ago at the academy. Fight? Asked Naruto concerned. You mean like a spar? Did it get out of hand? No, it was a yelling fight, she replied, but I did trick them into thinking that I poisoned them. Huh, Ino sighed. There's this girl in the same class as me. Her name is Haruno Sakura, and she's super sweet and cute. She has a larger forehead than most people, but still cute. For the whole school year, these girls, who I guess are my friends, started to bully her because of her forehead. They made her cry everything. That's horrible! Exclaimed Naruto. Causing dissent within a team, or in this case, a class, was a punishable office in the ANBU. Did your sensei punish them? Ino rolled her eyes. Of course they didn't. These girls are smart when it comes to this stuff. They only make fun of her during field exercises when no one is around. Sakura is also very shy, so she'll never tell on them to sensei. Naruto connected the dots and smiled at Ino. So you were there to protect her? I did what I can, she replied. I asked Sakura to be my partner for the class. I thought maybe this way she could join our group and they would stop bullying her, but it didn't work. It didn't matter that I was there. They still kept calling her billboard brow and made her cry. These girls lack discipline. Naruto thought a round of training with Commander Ryu would straighten them out. I know, right? Ino crossed her arms. I was mad, so I grabbed the flowers we were collecting and threw them into Ami's yapping mouth. She smirked. They went all the way in too. She was coughing and fell down. They were so shocked. Just to get them to leave, I told them the flowers were poisonous and they'd die if they didn't find sensei right away. Wow, so you resolved the situation with no casualties, no waste of actual resources, but still made the enemy retreat out of fear. Naruto grinned. You're really smart, Ino-chan. She giggled. I guess so, and I didn't get into any trouble with sensei either. I have so much dirt on them that they never tell the teachers that I did that to them. She leaned closer to Naruto, making him blush. Don't tell anyone, but I know all their little secrets. If I ever decide to gossip on them, they'd never recover. Naruto's eyes widened. So you're the spy master of the academy? Ha, you could say that. He stared into her sparkling eyes and smiled. You're amazing, Ino-chan. Her face turned red again. Thanks. She shook her head and grinned. So it's only me and you today. What do you want to play? Naruto pursed his lips. I'm still worried about you, so we should avoid the sun for now. With a grin, he asked, how about I help you with your own storage seal? I brought my ink and brush today. Really? She asked, smiling widely. Sure. Tapping the seal on his right forearm, Naruto unsealed his calligraphy set. It was still in pristine condition, barely a change from when he first received it from his godfather. It was crafted in the capital, by the same master who would supply the fire daimyo. The handle was carved from a tree found in the Senju forest and would react well to chakra, allowing steady hands to write smoothly. The brush was finely shaped by a mixture of rabbit's hair, weasel hair, and goat hair. Even the ink was finely prepared, with master craftsmen pouring 6 months of their time to properly cultivate. Naruto had infused it with his own chakra, allowing him to mold the ink along with his brush strokes. Wetting the ink with a dash of his water, he gently mixed it together, fully focused. When he was finally done, he smiled at Ino, who for some reason was red-faced again. He handed her another water before kneeling down on one knee in front of her, gently holding her hand. Do you want this on your right arm or left arm? Ino bit her lip, still burning red. I am right-handed, so I'll have it on my left arm. That way I can unseal it with my right hand. He nodded. Okay. As if treating a princess, Naruto softly placed Ino's arm on his knee. He held onto her hand with his left, and drew with his right. This was his first time drawing a seal on someone else, drawing for his first friend, and he was beyond excited. He looked up at her and smiled, thankful for her indulgence. She was so smart, honorable, and cool. Not to mention the cutest being imaginable. He couldn't believe she was here with him. This may feel a little ticklish at first, but try to stay still, okay? Oh, okay. He started the first stroke, and she flinched slightly, but it did not matter. It also a bit cold, sorry about that. She silently shook her head, still red. She didn't flinch on the second stroke, and all was calm and serene, as Fuinjutsu should be. This was his art, as his godfather would tell him in his letters, and he should take pride in it. He continued with confidence and efficiency. This is a simple seal, he explained, barely louder than a whisper. We are drawing a basic array first around the spot we want the actual seal to be. Think of these inscriptions as pathways for your chakra to access, and your arm as the seal tag. It may cover a large area of your arm for now, but at the end, you'll only have a small mark on it. He felt Ino stare at him intently as she spoke. How long have you been practicing this? A few months now, he replied, his voice soft and gentle. Apparently my mother and father were quite good at Fuinjutsu when they were alive, so my godfather figured that I might take to it as well. He was right. I don't really enjoy book learning, but I couldn't put the Fuinjutsu books down once I started reading. You could be a seal master by the time we grow up, she added, her voice as soft as the breeze. He smiled, his eyes never leaving her arm. Maybe, but my dream is to become Hokage. He glanced at her briefly, blushing slightly at her intense stare. Every Hokage in history has been a part of the regular forces, and they have all taken a genin team. I guess for now I am aiming to become a jonin and foster my own genin team. He braved another glance at her, marveling at her sparkling eyes. But this is a long time into the future. He managed to stare at her for 5 seconds before looking away, his heart beating almost too fast for him to concentrate. What about you? What kind of kunoichi do you want to be when you grow up? She started, but stopped. He noticed something with his left hand that was holding hers. Her pulse was extremely quick, almost 120 beats per minute, he figured with a quick calculation. His heart was beating fast after his 5 seconds of staring, but hers was even faster. Perhaps she was nervous about the seal. Take some deep breaths, Ino-chan. He stopped briefly to look at her, his heart accelerating again. This is a simple seal etching, it's not dangerous, and you won't feel any sort of discomfort with it. She nodded, breathing in deeply, but still burning red. I'm okay, Naruto-kun. You can continue. He smiled. You're doing great, Ino-chan. He noticed her look away from him, but spoke. You look really cool when you work, Naruto-kun. It was his turn to flinch. Thankfully the brush was lifted at that second, but his heart was now beating faster than hers. Thank you, he managed, his face burning. No one has ever called me cool before. She was still looking away from him, but her pulse was still accelerating. We can talk more while we do this, he said, once again starting to draw. I've practiced this seal a lot, so I can do this easily. We should keep talking to help us relax. Sure, she whispered back. Your friends, he started as Ino slowly turned to look at him again. Or well, not really your friends anymore. Do you think they'll bother you anymore? Ino shook her head. No, I don't think so. If they did, they'd be here today and yesterday. That's good, he added. What about the girl you mentioned, Sakura-san? She'll be fine too. I'll be there for her as her friend. He smiled. I guess she is as lucky as I am, huh? She looked away again, her pulse erratic. Why yep, just a few moments more and Naruto smiled, ending his drawing with one final stroke. There we go. We're done. Ino turned back and looked at her arm. Almost half of her forearm was covered in his impeccable penmanship. Wow, this really doesn't seem like it's a simple seal. It is once you understand it. He gently brought Ino's arm closer to his mouth and softly blew on the ink, hoping to dry it faster. It may look like a lot, but there are a lot of repeating patterns. It's plenty of drawing, but an easy concept. Ino looked like a tomato, so what's next? This. Naruto formed a Hitsuji hand sign and focused his chakra to his right palm. He held Ino's arm in his left hand as he placed his right on her forearm. With a burst of chakra in his palm, he whispered, Fuin. Ino watched with widened eyes and fascination as the inscriptions on her skin moved in concentric circles, slowly bumping into each other, until they overlapped into layers. They spun around Naruto's hand and soon enough it became smaller than his palm, shrinking to the center of her forearm. It took another few seconds before Naruto smiled at her. Technically, this final outer layer of the seal can look like whatever we want, so I figured you'd like this. Naruto lifted his palm and Ino gasped. The seal was finished, and she saw her own clan symbol on her arm. A perfect bush clover barely the size of a coin. Naruto grinned. Mine looks like a whirlpool, which is the Uzumaki symbol. I don't think you'd want that on your arm, so I spent last night perfecting the Yamanaka symbol. It wasn't hard to do since both our clan symbols are perfect circles. I just had no change some small details on the outer layer of the array. He saw her staring at him, and he stared back. Do you like it? She gave a small smile. I do, she whispered as her smile grew. I love it. He breathed a sigh of relief, his smile matching hers. That's good. I wasn't sure. She started with a pause. You learned to draw my clan symbol like this just for me? Of course. He grinned. You're the only Yamanaka I know. Ino hugged her arm close to her chest before giving Naruto the most beautiful smile he'd ever seen in his life. Thank you, Naruto-kun. I really, really love it. You're welcome. He answered loudly and happily. He leaned closer to her and asked for her arm. Taking her shaking hand, he placed it again on his knee, gently running his thumb across the seal. Now let me teach you how to use it. Throughout his explanation, in his excitement, he never really noticed that Ino was staring at him the entire time, nor did he feel her pulse skyrocketing to new heights. Naruto's 4 older sisters stared down at the scene, all nursing a gentle smile. They each leaned against their own tree branch and sighed, packing away their equipment. It's settled, muttered Yugao. Naruto-chan will be an absolute heartthrob when he grows up. He does it so naturally, added Nana, and he has absolutely no idea. Shiki chuckled with her arms crossed. That's what makes him so dangerous. It all comes from the heart, and he is genuinely that sweet. This poor girl stands no chance. I can live with that, Mizu relented. She seems like a good girl to me. Anyone who would stand up to her own friends like that just to protect someone has earned my respect. The others nodded along. And she's Inoichi-san's daughter. She may join our ranks in the future. Yugao smirked. I call dibs on her. Damn it! Came 3 voices in unison. The sun had set and Naruto had left. He had promised her to meet with her again next weekend, but that was 5 days and 5 nights away. For Ino, that seemed like years away. She had almost kept him from leaving, but she knew she shouldn't. He mentioned one of his brother would be returning from a mission later tonight, and she would not rob him of that, especially not after she knew about his other brother had died. But he had been so close to her for so long, nearly 6 hours. But it worked out for the best. Without the sun, she had no excuse for her tomato cheeks. She slowly made her way home, knowing that her parents must be expecting her soon. She hoped for some cold evening winds, because she had no excuse for her burning face. No matter how much of Naruto's water she drank, it just wouldn't cool down. Just a few more blocks, and she would be home. It was not enough time to calm down. "Ino-chan?" A small voice broke Ino from her thoughts, and she saw Sakura waiting for her by a bench. Damn it, she thought. Naruto had forever changed benches for her, and once again she felt her heart throb. "Sakura?" Ino approached the girl, unknowingly still hugging her arm close, feeling the warmth on her new seal. "What are you doing here? Do you have time?" the girl asked, her pink hair held in place by the red ribbon Ino had given her. "Can we talk?" Ino shrugged. "Sure." "What's up?" They both sat down on the bench, with Sakura looking down at her folded hands, clearly nervous. Normally, Ino would have been concerned and probably would have inquired, but her mind had been thoroughly consumed by a yellow ball of sunshine and roses. The two girls sat there on the bench, both apparently reeling from adolescent challenges. Sakura started to speak, but Ino didn't even hear her. Why did his eyes have to be so blue? Ino had thought the entire day. They were like sapphires, big and round and cute. They were so bright and sparkly that she could barely look into them without burning up. Why did his sun-like hair frame his eyes like a golden crown? Why were his hands so warm? Why was he so handsome? Why did he look so cool? Ino-chan? Naruto was so sweet, as well. He stayed up the previous night just to learn how to make her seal look like her clan symbol. The bush clover, which symbolizes positive love. Was this a sign? Were her ancestors pushing her towards Naruto? Ino-chan, are you alright? Did you hear what I said? 5 days and 5 nights. How could she even sleep, much less train and study? Thankfully, if this weekend was any indication, she wouldn't have to deal with her ex-friends anymore. At most she'd have to deal with Shikamaru and Choji. Why did they always have to be in the same class as her? One only knows how to sleep and the other only knows how to eat. Why couldn't Naruto-kun be in her class? That way she could see him every day and not only during weekends. Sakura gently nudged Ino and got a soft groan from the blonde. "Did you hear what I said, Ino-chan?" Sakura turned to face Ino and spoke with rare confidence. "I said that I like Sasuke-kun too. I really like Sasuke-kun. Are you okay with that?" Ino hazily looked at her second newest friend and sighed. Sasuke who? The day was long for Hitaki Kakashi. The infamous A-ranked shinobi, son of the White Fang, student of the Yellow Flash, the copy ninja was reduced to being a footman. This day marked the 5th delivery and recon mission he had done in as many days. For nearly a week, he had been subjugated to the same mundane safety of main roads. It was hardly fitting of an ANBU captain to be traveling abreast with simple merchants and traveling shows, clutching onto a small scroll that surely no one wanted to steal. In his stretching career as a trained assassin, he'd never been as bored. He hadn't used any of his 1,000 jutsu in a while and his hands were becoming restless. Sparks of electricity flared between his fingers as he removed his ANBU mask, stuffing everything into his locker. He was once again in his room, within reach of his warm and comfortable bed, his too comfortable bed. It was too soft, as was he. There was a time when he found dirt too soft, opting for a strong branch for sleep. Now he felt sleepy just at the sight of his bed. Perhaps the Hokage was punishing him for something. Perhaps this was the ANBU version of deranked missions. But why? It has been a long time since his last blunder, if it could even be considered that. He and his team were ambushed, and Tenzo was safekeeping the prisoner. It was only logical to force his team to retreat while he held the lines. He had protected his comrades and ensured the success of the mission. The Hokage had insisted that Kakashi still had self-sacrificing tendencies. The Hokage was wrong. Sure, he may have at one point in his life grown tired of living, but that was before a little ball of sunshine took over all free hours of his life. "Kaka and I," said Ball of Sunshine, launched himself at his brother and landed on his shoulders, grasping at his silver hair. "You're back." Kakashi gave a low chuckle. "Yes, I'm back." He held onto the boy's ankles to steady him. "But what are you still doing up? It's almost 11 o'clock. I just finished my report to Commander Ryu." Naruto grinned, bouncing on his brother's shoulders. "He said I did a good job." "I'm too excited to sleep." "I see," muttered the captain as he made his way to their usual evening gathering spot, the smaller cafeteria located on the eastern wing of the barracks. "And how many of your sister's snacks did you eat to celebrate?" "You are way too energetic tonight." The boy shrugged. "Just a few cookies. I finished most of my snacks with Ino-chan today, so I didn't have much left." He pouted. The commander didn't let Nanane bake more cookies for tonight. Kakashi chuckled again. "Ino-chan, huh? Did you have fun today?" "Lots of fun." Naruto smiled brighter than Kakashi had ever seen. "Ino-chan is so cool and so smart. She let me draw a storage seal on her arm and it only took her an hour to learn how to use it." She told me they only started the leaf floating exercise at the academy, but she was able to mold enough chakra to seal and unseal 10 bottles of water by the end. The brothers made their way into the dining area and Kakashi saw most of his colleagues were still there. Yugao, Nana, Mizu and Shiki were all huddled together in the middle of the room, sitting in front of the TV, giggling loudly into the night. Even Tenzo was still awake, silently trimming his precious bonsai tree behind the ladies, a small smile on his face as he watched the screen. Ko sat beside him, his legs up on the table and hands behind his head, quietly chuckling. Even Commander Ryu was there, standing tall and stoic with his arms crossed, silently regarding the TV with his hawk-like eyes. All the while, Naruto was still relaying to his favorite brother every small detail about the Yamanaka heiress, accurate and minute to the point, to which Kakashi wondered if they trained him too well. "Welcome back, senpai," greeted Tenzo, chuckling at his captain. "Did you know, apparently Inoichi-san's daughter is the top student of her class? Oh, and she's super cool and really loves Nana's chocolate chip cookies," Ko added with a grin. Tenzo sighed with a grin. Naruto has not stopped talking about his new best friend ever since he came home. Naruto huffed and crossed his arms, balancing himself on Kakashi's shoulders. "I was just making my report as thorough as possible." Naruto-chan, started Yugao. "Are you sure it's not because you already miss her? You keep talking about how you promised to meet with her again next week." Naruto turned a little red. "Don't worry, we'll let you go see her whenever you want to. And we'll make some more snacks for you next time. Apparently, Ino-chan loves sweet things. Not to mention that she's the spy master of the academy," added Commander Ryu, completely serious. "This girl has acquired intelligence on most of her classmates, but despite this, she has yet to utilize any of such information for personal gain. This indicates an acceptable ethical standard and an understanding of using power in moderation. I am very impressed with young Yamanaka-san." Naruto nodded enthusiastically as others' sweat dropped, used to the commander's personality. "Kakashi-senpai," called out Shiki, "you should come take a look at this." "Yeah!" cried out Naruto. "Ne-chan recorded my mission. They said I did a good job." Kakashi knelt down to the TV, his one normal eye watching closely. It was obviously filmed from an eagle's eye view, aiming down at the targets, namely Naruto and the little Yamanaka girl. It was a good angle and the shot was clear. It was steady as well. They must have mounted the camera. The sound was also coming through loud and clear. They must have been prepared and fully equipped. Naruto hopped down to the ground. I made it to the target destination on time and without a trail. Kakashi watched the screen and saw his little brother step from the shadows while using his expression of apathy, as trained by him, but also saw him completely lose it upon seeing his friend. "Okay, I may have lost my focus there, but it did not cost me the mission." Did Ino-chan scare you?" asked Nana, pulling her chibi into her arms. "Or was she so pretty that you completely lost focus?" Naruto blushed. "I was just surprised." "At how pretty she is?" asked Yugao, looking innocent. "No, Naru, why don't you explain to Kakashi what happened here?" asked Shiki as the screen showed Naruto pulling Ino into the shade. "Right!" exclaimed the boy. The day was unexpectedly hot, and Ino-chan must have been standing in the sun for too long. While conversing, I noticed her face was turning red, like exceedingly red. His sisters all crossed their arms and nodded sagely along. I realized that it must be a sign of heat stroke. Kakashi choked on his spit as Tenzo and Ko chuckled. "As you can see, I was forced to retreat to a cooler area, and because of Ino-chan's weakened state, I thought it best that I lead her by the hand." "Yes, that was a smart move, Naruto," commented Ko, very smooth. "Right," replied Naruto, looking utterly confused. It was at this point that I noticed her hand was getting sweaty, another sign of heat stroke. Ko and Tenzo chuckled again as Kakashi stared at Naruto. I had to hurry, so I regrettably held onto her hand tighter and ran faster. At this point, even her voice was weak. She even started to stutter. I was really worried, but we got to the bench on time. "Was her face still red?" asked Kakashi, sounding serious. "Yes." Naruto pointed at the TV. It was getting even more red. "She looked like a tomato." Kakashi was seriously wondering if Minato-sensei's overly dominant genes somehow compelled his son to be attracted to tomato girls. Kushina must have been smiling down at her son at that moment. She had often told Kakashi that she wanted Naruto to find a girl like her. I placed my hand on her forehead to see if she was burning up, and she was. And she kept getting redder. Kakashi just stared at his brother, the girls all quieting laughing behind them. The heat must have somehow affected her, so I thought to unseal some water for her. Kakashi nodded, following along. "But here is where I must file a complaint." Naruto huffed. "The jacket Jiraiya sent me has no stretch." Kakashi watched the screen and saw Naruto take off his jacket in front of the girl before proceeding to show her his arms. I had to take it off to get the water, and that cost me a few seconds. Thankfully, I got the water on time. Ino-chan looked like she was close to passing out by then. Kakashi felt his jaw drop as he watched his brother lean close, very close to the girl, and proceeded to bottle feed her the water. She was almost unresponsive when I tried to feed her the water. It took a few seconds, but she managed to drink some. Thank goodness, Because I'm not sure if she would still want to be my friend if she passed out the first time we played together. Why, you almost made a girl pass out the first time you played with her? Asked Kakashi, ignoring the laughs of Tenzo and Co. No, I didn't, answered Naruto. The heat did. Aren't you listening, Kaka and I? Please continue. And so the boy did, recounting his first mission to the most minute detail, supported by video evidence. Not once did he notice the baffled and widened eyes of Kakashi. The ANBU captain was looking around at his comrades, all sending him a knowing smile. Even the commander was amused. He had stopped crossing his arms. They all knew. They understand. They realized Naruto's potential and what this could mean. Oh, you look so cool, Naruto-kun, cried Nana loudly, smiling at the boy's blush. Shut up, Nana-ne. He blushed to the roots of his hair. Ino-chan didn't say it like that. Yugao grinned. So how did she say it? She said it better. He yelled as he grew redder. Just let me give my report. The highlights were reviewed and soon the tape came to a close. I knew you were coming home tonight, Kaka and I, so I called it a day when the sun started to go down. Ino-chan looked a little disappointed, but she told me that her parents are waiting for her at home, too. We ended it there. But I promised her that we'll play again next weekend. Kakashi stared down at his beloved little brother, who actually ended his playtime with a girl just so he could welcome him home. On one hand, he was elated and proud that he meant so much to his brother, but on the other, he regretted rushing home so quickly. If he had taken the time and camped for the night, could Naruto have progressed even further on his mission? Perhaps at sundown, the Yamanaka girl could still be blushing and his innocent brother could actually catch on. Kakashi damned his own efficiency. As he was reeling from his thoughts, Yugao broke the silence. So, Naruto-chan, she asked with a grin, what do you plan to do with Ino-chan next weekend? Are you going to spend both days with her? Naruto hopped to turn to his sister, looking up at her pleadingly. I haven't asked Ji-chan yet, but can I? I promise I'll finish all my homework and clock in all my field training. Yugao's grin widened as Nana stepped in. Oh, I'm sure Hokage-sama will allow it. He wouldn't stand in the way of young love. Naruto tilted his head. What do you mean by that? Nothing, answered Mizu, bringing Naruto to her arms, turning him away from his other sisters, making them roll their eyes at her. Don't worry about what she said, just focus on playing at the park and enjoy yourself. You're still a child, so all you need to worry about is playing and meeting new friends, okay? He grinned and nodded. Yeah, I can do that. Shiki sighed, and stood with a clap. Okay, we've had our fun. Time for bed. She lightly patted Naruto's back and pushed Mizu along. Naruto-chan still needs to take his bath and brush his teeth. You stay up any later, and you'll be sorry in the morning. Your studies will still start at 8 o'clock sharp. Naruto pouted as he was carried away. Fine. Good night, Chibi, muttered Tenzo with a wave. Good night, Tenzo and I, the boy muttered, clearly pouting. Good night, everybody. Ko chuckled. Good night, kiddo. Have some sweet dreams. Mizu immediately glared at him and rushed on. Yes, dream about puppies and candy. Yugao and Nana giggled and followed along. If you keep that up, Mizu will gut you in your sleep. Nana flicked Ko's head. Reel it in before you push her too far. Ko slipped his hand into hers and kissed her knuckles. You'll protect me, right? Nana winked and ran her fingers through his hair. Maybe, depends on what you say. Oh, get a room, muttered Yugao walking away. Maybe later, Nana said with another wink, following Yugao out of the room. Now only the men were left in the room and they immediately gathered together, standing in formation with their arms crossed. In silence, they each contemplated the day and the surprises it brought, all revolving around their little prodigy. New light had been shed on their situation. Until today, they all had thought Naruto was going to grow up to be a disciplined, efficient, powerful, and deadly shinobi, one they would welcome into their ranks with open arms and have lead the next generation of Konoha to greatness. But now he could be even more. It seems, started Kakashi with a whisper, it seems our little brother has another natural talent. It would seem so, added Ko, one we don't see very often, especially not in one so young and innocent. Reminds me a bit of Itachi before he went crazy, but even then, Itachi only ever relied on his looks, never his charisma or personality. Chibi has both in spades. Tenzo sighed. I see where this is going, but shouldn't we wait until he's a bit older? I was a Chunin at his age, said Kakashi, and we're only talking about learning on paper. There won't be any sort of technical application until he's at least a Chunin, maybe genin. It depends if the world is at peace or at war. You're kidding, replied Tenzo, nursing his temples. You try to slip Naruto Ika and every female colleague of ours will torture and kill you. No, not Ika, Kakashi insisted. Just some basic young love novels, completely wholesome, I promise. And some on basic biology, added Ko. He should have some basic sexual education along with the romance novels. We want to avoid any sort of confusion. Good call, answered Kakashi. We should also add in some books on body language and physiological responses. The poor boy thought the girl was having a heat stroke. Ko chuckled. That still makes me laugh. Ahem. Commander Ryu cleared his throat, making the three men straighten up. We may also consider adding certain parameters to his future missions with the young Yamanaka. Kakashi rubbed his chin and thought, nothing indecent, considering their age and station, but subtle indications of progression. Have the boy count the number of times he managed to make the girl smile, or monitor hers or his own heart rate during contact, or even have him learn as much as he can about her likes and dislikes as possible. The more he knows about her, the better. Oh, that's good. Ko smirked. We should construct lessons on gentlemanly conduct and vocabulary, just like how we taught him the silent killing method. We have him act as such during these missions and rate his performance accordingly. Yes, muttered Kakashi. Such parameters will allow us to progressively increase the difficulties of these missions. Ko smirked. By the end, Chibi will be able to charm any woman in the world, not just the Yamanaka heiress. The commander nodded yes, and we will be able to send him on any mission involving the opposite sex. The amount of information he could retrieve for Konoha would be insurmountable. Female daimyo, wives of daimyo, princesses, noble ladies all around the continent. It would be a gold mine. Yes, for the prosperous future of Konoha, added Ko. That's why we're doing this. Tenzo sighed and relented. No matter what I say, I know you'll ignore me. Kakashi patted his shoulder and nodded in agreement. But let me add, we do this privately and discreetly. We can monitor the situation, but we must not make a public farce of all this. No recording whatsoever. We want Naruto to thrive and succeed as a man, not to use him for entertainment. We do this, and this all stays between us. No one can know. Ko nodded yes, just the four of us. Hokage-sama will kill us all if we don't include him, added Commander Ryu. Same with Jiraiya-sama. Ko shuddered at the thought. Yes, you're right. Just the six of us. His first friend is the Yamanaka heiress. Ko whistled. I wonder who else would he meet? And when they grow up, what will happen? How many girlfriends do you think he'll have? Kakashi chuckled at the thought. As a genin on Minato-sensei's team, he had often overheard conversations between Jiraiya and the yandere. More than once had Jiraiya tried to get Minato to let loose and have some fun. Away from prying eyes and ears, the Sannin had tried to tempt his student with stories of his conquests around the elemental nations, one he would later turn into literary masterpieces. But not once had the yellow flash relented. Kakashi could scarcely count the number of women who had tried to solicit his sensei. It must have been hundreds, even more after he became one of the youngest Kage in history. Whether it was inside the village or outside, Minato-sensei was always surrounded by girls. Kushina-sensei, being one of the most powerful, and definitely one of the most violent, Kunoichi in Konoha, had never once tried to intervene. She was never jealous and had only ever laughed at her boyfriend/husband. She was not the least bit worried because she knew Minato-sensei better than anyone. If there was one thing Namikaze Minato was, it was loyal. Minato-sensei was loyal to Konoha and Uzumaki Kushina. The yandere had the looks, charisma, skill, power, position, and reverence to have any woman in the world, but he only wanted his childhood sweetheart and wife. Now Naruto was in a similar situation. Kakashi wondered if the boy would be like his father in this regard as well. Yamanaka Imiko was perplexed. She had heard from her daughter about her situation with her friends at the academy. While she was proud of her daughter for standing up for poor Sakura-chan, she was worried about Ino losing almost all of her friends. The Yamanaka matriarch had gone on a bakery shopping spree after dropping her daughter off at the park, fully intending to defeat Ino's sadness with sweets. But upon her return, Ino was happier than she'd ever seen her. Sitting together on the couch watching TV, Imiko watched as her daughter giggled to herself. Ino-chan, are you feeling okay? Ino looked at her mother, smiling widely, and nodded. Of course. I feel great. Did you have fun today at the park? I did. The girl replied loudly. I had the best day ever. A manly chuckle interrupted Imiko's next question as Yamanaka Inoichi walked in, happily scooping his daughter into his arms. The girl giggled as she sat on her father's lap, happily bouncing as he sat back down on the couch. Inoichi kissed his daughter's hair. What got you so happy today, princess? I spend the day playing with Naruto-kun. Imiko blinked in surprise along with her husband. Naruto-kun? Did you make a new friend, and is it a boy? Asked Inoichi softly, looking afraid. Yeah, didn't I tell you about him? Ino's smile was so wide Imiko was afraid it'd hurt. I met him yesterday at the park. I was playing in our flower fields and he walked by looking for flowers. We hung out the whole day yesterday and today. She giggled again, much to Inoichi's horror. He's the coolest. Ignoring her husband's pale face, Imiko smiled. That's great to hear, honey. Pausing for thought, how old is Naruto-kun? Is he around your age? Yep, we're the same age. Ino was still bouncing happily on her father's lap, not seeing his horrified expression. Actually, I am 17 days older than him. He was born on October 10th. I asked. That seemed to break Inoichi out of his nightmare. October 10th, 8 years ago? Ino nodded. Aha! Imiko caught on, grimacing. That really was not a good day to have for a birthday. If he's your age, have you met him before at the academy? No, Naruto-kun doesn't go to the academy. Oh, so he's a civilian. Ino shook her head quickly, her smile returning. No, Naruto-kun wants to be a ninja. He wants to be Hokage. Imiko smiled at her daughter's enthusiasm. And he's already got amazing chakra control, way more advanced than what we learn at the academy. Really? Asked Inoichi. Where did he learn it if not at the academy? He said he's taught at home by his family. Is he in a clan? asked the father. What's his last name? Uzumaki, she exclaimed, missing the flinch of her father. His full name is Uzumaki Naruto. Emiko looked at her husband before asking, Uzumaki, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. Did you meet his parents? Ino's smile dimmed. No, Naruto-kun's parents died during the Kyuubi attack. He lives with his grandfather and his siblings. Emiko sat closer to her husband and daughter, reaching for her husband's shaking hand. What does Naruto-kun look like? Ino blushed with a shy smile. He looks very cool. She looked away from her parents. He is so handsome, she whispered, getting redder. He is even more handsome than Sasuke-kun, and way cooler, too. Like, he actually talks and smiles and laughs. He has such a cute laugh. That's great, honey, interrupted Emiko. But what are his features like? Like his hair or eyes? Ino grinned. He has blonde hair, too. Inoichi flinched as Ino continued, but not like ours, it's a bit darker. It's also very messy, but in a good way. It's very spiky, but it frames his face perfectly. His eyes, too. They're blue like ours, but darker as well. Like a deep blue. Inoichi shakily breathed out. So he is a blonde-haired and blue-eyed boy with the Uzumaki name? Yep. Ino clasped her hands together to plead. He promised me he would hang out with me again next weekend. Can I please go? Emiko looked at her husband, holding on to his trembling hand. Yes, honey. Of course. I'm happy you made a new friend. Look what he made me today. Ino pulled back the sleeve of her sweater and showed her new personal storage seal to her parents. Isn't it cool? It's our clan symbol. Emiko smiled as her husband was still in a daze. It's very nice. Did he draw it on you? Ino shook her head. No, Kaa-chan, this isn't just a doodle. Here, let me show you. She formed a hand sign and molded her chakra before tapping the seal with her right palm. A puff of smoke appeared and shocked both her parents. Ino grinned at their surprise as she held an empty bottle of water in her hand, the same one Naruto used to feed her. See? This is a storage seal. Naruto-kun drew it for me. What do you mean, princess? Asked Inoichi. He made the seal himself? Yes, he did. Ino was gushing. Yesterday she showed me his own storage seal on his arm and I was amazed. He said that he'd make one for me, and he did today. Not only that, but he also changed how it looks. She rubbed over her seal. His seal looks like a whirlpool because of his clan, so he spent basically the entire night practicing how to make the seal look like a bush clover instead. Isn't he just so sweet? She hugged her arm close again. I can't wait to see him again. Emiko forced a small smile. What a talented boy. I know, right? Inoichi gently placed Ino on the couch and stood up. Sorry, princess. Tuchan needs to go visit your uncle Shikaka for a bit. Ino tilted her head and shrugged. Sure, okay. Honey, started Emiko as she stood too. Inoichi gently rubbed his wife's shoulder. I won't be out too late. It's okay, just she sighed. Figure this out. I need to know if. Inoichi nodded. I know. Me too. Emiko sat back down and pulled Ino close, trying to pay attention as her daughter went on about her newest friend and obvious crush. She nodded along and smiled at times, but she couldn't help but want to follow her husband. She had to know if her friend's son was still alive. And if he was, why was he hidden away? Kushina. ANBU Commander Ryu was the longest-serving ANBU captain in history before he was promoted to the rank of commander. Some may consider it an impressive accolade, but the average lifespan of an ANBU member's career was short, whether it be from death or retirement. Not everyone could live in darkness, hunt in the unknown, and die in silence. The ANBU life was grim and ruthless, void of joy or emotion. They all lived in minutes, seconds. They had absolutely no prospects for the long term. After all, death was always knocking on their door. Ryu had comrades once. He had his own superiors and peers. He had looked up to the Sannin in his youth, idolized the White Fang of Konoha, and saw the Sandaime Hokage as the god of shinobi, as did most of his peers. But everyone in his generation was gone now. Some had retired into civilian life, some had joined the regular forces and became standard Chunin or, if they didn't incur any lifelong injuries or mental blocks, Jonin. The rest were killed in the Kyuubi attack, crushed under the mighty Bija's tails or burned to ash. Ryu had almost considered retiring himself after the Yondaime had died, and he would have if not for a lone ember that kept the barracks warm. Again, hi, Commander. Chibi stood from the shallow pool, soaked from head to toe, and gathered his chakra again. His brows furrowed in concentration, his frown resembling a pout as he tried to stand on the water. For a second, he succeeded, managing to stand on the pool with minimal ripples forming at his feet, but he soon fell again. Keep trying until you can stand for 10 seconds. Hi, Commander. As commander, Ryu rarely left the barracks himself. From the command center, he monitored all men and women in the ANBU with his hawk-like eyes. As much as he was proud of them for conducting their missions up to his strict standards, he was bored most of the time. It was what he was most afraid of when he first took the mantle of commander. Forced to stay in the village, still living in the dark, but had no S-ranked missions to die on if it became too much. It would have been his worst nightmare had that lone ember not blazed into a bright flame. Commander, I stood for 8 seconds. Well done! Keep trying. Chibi, the small spark that remained in the ashes after the Kyuubi attack, had effortlessly brought life back into the barracks. It was no longer bleak and dark, nor was it silent or desolate. Ryu could remember first being told of a baby living in barracks and had immediately thought of the crying, of it adding to the sadness, but Naruto rarely cried. The babe had laughed the first time Ryu visited him, reaching for his finger and giggling at his dragon mask. It was the first time in a long, long time that Ryu had heard laughter, genuine laughter. Ironically, he was the one who cried while holding the baby. Commander Ryu swore that day that he would live a full life for Chibi, and he would make sure the boy would grow into a different world that ruined him so. The first change came when Naruto was only a week old. Commander Ryu could not remember who suggested that the bleak, white tube lights were not suitable for a baby, but the Hokage had changed them all to fluorescent soft white bulbs within a day. The morgue-like hallways transformed under the cozy yellow tone, and had matched perfectly with the golden fuzz on Chibi's soft head. Then for the first time since the barracks were built during the reign of the Naruto Hokage, the walls inside the barracks were covered and painted. Rusted steel and dull gray were sanded and covered in dark brown wooden walls, reminding everyone of the tree trunks they had all climbed as children. The cement flooring replaced with warm hardwood, lighter in tone but equally as welcoming. Paths leading away from and to Chibi's nursery even had a stretching, woolly, leaf green rug paving the ground. The Hokage was afraid the boy would hurt himself trying to walk. The baby needed natural light, so the Hokage had skylights built into the dining areas of the barracks, and had even custom-made a playroom for the boy, complete with all-around window walls surrounded by nature. It was the brightest room in the barracks by far. And to add to security, a high-level genjutsu was placed on the outside of each window, so no one could look inside while Chibi was giddily pointing at the outside. One by one, mission scrolls turned into picture books, food pills turned into baked goods and home-cooked meals, and everyone started to report to Chibi before reporting to the commander and the Hokage when coming home. Naruto had become the beating heart of the ANBU, and they all loved him to bits for it. 8, 9 counted Naruto as his knees quivered. 10, his ankle sank in the water, but he still grinned. Commander, I have stood for a consecutive 10 seconds on water. Ryu nodded, his mask hiding his smile. Good work, Chibi. Take a break. The boy bowed, trying to be professional, but couldn't hide his grin. Thank you, Commander. They were using their usual training ground zero, located on the lowest level of the barracks, hidden away by chakra-lined walls and tons of cement. It was Ryu's personal training ground, but had since become Naruto's as well. The rock-covered, dirt field came in handy when training the boy. It had all the possible requirements the boy could need, including shallow pools for standing and trees for chakra running, and was the safest place in Konoha. Joining the commander at his table, Naruto hopped to sit on his chair and reached for a warm cookie, courtesy of one of his many sisters. Your chakra control is improving quickly, but not quickly enough. Naruto finished his cookie and turned to face his teacher. At this point, your control is beyond that of a regular genin, but your chakra reserves are growing faster than you are improving. We must be one step above your growth rate in order to preserve our progress, so I have decided to expedite our schedule. I'll do whatever is required, Commander. My original plan was to work in the teachings of the Academy along with your ANBU training. However, the Academy teachings have proven to be far too simple for you at this point. You'll still need to finish on your book learning, but the 3 basic jutsu required for graduation you have mastered. Well, at least you've mastered the Kawarimi and Henge. Naruto smiled. The Kawarimi and Henge were easy enough. The Bunshin no Jutsu was a pain to learn, but after your chakra control exercises, I can at least make one that's not deflated. He stood tall. So, what kind of training will we do from now on? Ryu nodded. Hokage-sama and I have carefully planned your training schedule, so there wouldn't be much change, but we have decided to teach you a B-rank jutsu. Naruto jumped from his chair, his eyes widened. Really? Yes, but calm down. The boy breathed out and sat down, his hands on his lap, his training showing results. This is the Kage Bunshin on Jutsu. The commander formed a hand sign and a puff of smoke appeared beside him, and a clone manifested. This is different from the standard clone jutsu, and you will be able to use this one much easier. These clones are corporeal and can act independently from the original. Naruto's eyes sparkled at the sight. Amazing. This was invented by the Naruto Hokage himself and is taught to all ANBU recruits as a form of orientation training. The commander's clone sat down as well, both looking at Naruto. This is not a difficult jutsu to learn. The only reason it is classified as a B rank is because of the enormous chakra requirement. Each clone is created by dividing the user's chakra in half, so each clone created splits the user's chakra evenly between them. People with lower chakra reserves, like Genin and some Chunin, should not learn this jutsu. It can easily lead to chakra exhaustion and potentially death. I understand, muttered Naruto, nodding along. You, however, are blessed with the largest chakra reserves I have ever seen. At your age, you already have more chakra than me and Hokage-sama. The boy's eyes widened, but stayed silent. And your reserves will continue to grow exponentially as you approach maturity. This jutsu will not be an issue for you for this reason. Well, how many clones do you think I can make right now? With this standard version of the Kage Bunshin, you can create 12 clones, all of which will have a decently sized chakra pool and will be able to last for a decent amount of time. Of course, this variant of the jutsu is limited. The original and unhindered version of the Kage Bunshin has no limit on how many clones you can create. By the time you reach maturity, you will possibly be able to create upwards of 1,000 clones and still feel fine. 1,000, whispered the boy, pondering the possibilities. Yes, which leads to the reasoning behind teaching you this jutsu. The commander leaned forward along with his clone. This technique was created not only for combat, but for reconnaissance. The memories and experiences of each clone, he said as he punched his clone, causing it to disperse into a puff of smoke, is returned to the original upon their destruction. Naruto's eyes widened in understanding. These experiences, do they include muscle memory and learned knowledge? Yes, Ryu answered. While physical changes or gains cannot be transferred back, any sort of neurological connections or reflex practice will be accumulated. So, with clones, I can significantly accelerate my training regimen. Exactly correct. The commander leaned back against his chair. Training with one clone, you can cut the required time in half. With a dozen right now, any training that would require a year's time will be completed in 1 month. He crossed his arms. When your body reaches or is close to reaching maturity, you may be able to cram a millennia's worth of training into 1 year. Naruto slumped in his chair, shocked. Is this how upper tier ninja train? Not at all, Chibi. Ryu sighed. You underestimate the amount of chakra you command. Compared to other children your age, like your new friend, Yamanaka-san, you have at least 1,000 times more chakra than they do. No one, not even Hokage-sama, can possibly train like this. Not only because of chakra requirements, but also stamina requirements. Experience also translates into fatigue. Without your Uzumaki vitality and endurance, no one would be able to survive this kind of training. Naruto looked down, contemplating the news. You have the best of both worlds, Chibi. A near unlimited amount of chakra and a near unlimited amount of stamina. There was a reason why the Uzumaki clan was so revered in the world. They were known as the clan of longevity, and could fight for days at a time. But why do I have so much chakra? Asked the boy. I understand my Uzumaki blood, but how come I have so much chakra? Uzumaki clan members are born with higher chakra capacities already, but there are extraordinary circumstances when it comes to your reserves. The commander held up his hand to stop the next question. And no, I am not allowed to tell you. This is classified information and you've yet to acquire the appropriate rank to access such information. Naruto was taken aback. But this is information about me. Nonetheless, you won't know until you've earned the rank. And what rank is that? Jonin or ANBU, either one. Naruto sulked and sat back, crossing his arms. You strive to become Hokage one day, Chibi, so one day soon you will be able to rise to these ranks. If you listen well and train properly, I assure you that you won't have to wait long. Naruto stood and saluted the commander. Hi, Commander. I will do as you say. Our immediate goal right now is to have you master your chakra control to an adequate level. With 12 clones, I don't expect this to take too long. Once you have better control, we will begin your elemental training. Going forward, we will large focus on ninjutsu and taijutsu, and if we see significant improvement on your chakra control, perhaps genjutsu, but the latter is not likely. What about fuinjutsu? That is not one of my areas of expertise. Jiraiya-sama will continue to aid in your reading regarding fuinjutsu, but that is a field I will leave for you to discover alone. You've done well so far, and I'll trust you to not go overboard. Naruto nodded. Yes, sir. Good, now come here and I'll show you how to make a Kage Bunshin. The Sandaime Hokage had been in office for over 50 years, longer than both his predecessors and successor combined. He wasn't sure if he had been cursed to wander the earth after his beloved wife's death 8 years ago, but he hoped to join her soon. He missed his dear Biwako and their life together. He had thought at one point, when his naivety and optimism won over experience, he would be able to enjoy his retirement with his wife and their grandchildren. Spending the days with his bonsai trees and his students' books, sharing tea and treats with Biwako, and groom Konohamaru into the next Sarutobi clan head. If life had only been so kind, it was not all terrible. War had not come after the Yondaime's death, as most of his advisors feared, or hoped for, in the case of Danzo. The Yondaime's legacy was safe and happy, not persecuted as a Jinchuriki. And he still had time with Konohamaru, at least when the boy felt the need to ambush him in his office. He wondered when he should introduce his two grandsons to each other. Konohamaru could sure use an older brother and Naruto could finally interact with someone younger than him. Hokage-sama, came the voice of his secretary, Yamanaka Inoichi, Nara Shikaku, and Akimichi Chuza have requested your audience. Clearing his throat, he adjusted his hat. Yes, let them in. The doors opened for the 3 clan heads, each an elite jonin of Konoha. Hiruzen could still remember seeing them as children, fresh out of the academy and free from the real world. They were now all battle-hardened family men. How time flies, he thought. Before long, their children would take their place. And if the deities above were kind, someone else would be sitting in this damn chair with this damn hat. Gentlemen, greeted the Hokage cordially, casually lighting his pipe, what can I do for you? Inoichi and Chuza gestured to Shikaku, and the Jonin commander sighed. Hokage-sama, some troubling information have come to light recently. What kind of information? asked the old man, and please take a seat. The three men sat, all looking nervous and anxious. Hiruzen sighed inwardly, assuming the reason behind their concerns, but was surprised at the speed of it. When he allowed Naruto to play outside, he had expected some of his parents' old friends to run into him. But apparently, according to the ANBU commander, Naruto had managed to befriend and enamor the Yamanaka heiress on the very first day they met. Still, he expected a few more days before a confrontation, but for once they were taking the initiative. Forming a hand sign under his desk, the Hokage activated the silencing barrier built into his office. Yesterday, Hokage-sama, my daughter met a friend in the park. Hiruzen knew they were testing the waters, but felt no need to speed up the conversation. Wonderful, he replied, children finally get to be children. That's the reason we're here, actually. Inoichi turned to look at his teammates and brothers before turning back to the Hokage. The boy she met was most peculiar. He introduced himself as Uzumaki Naruto, a family name not used since Kushina's death. When I inquired more, my daughter described him as a boy with spiky blonde hair and deep blue eyes. Yes, and? Asked the old man. Shikaka sighed, troublesome. He sat taller and looked at the old man. Is he Minato and Kushina's boy? Yes, he is. Hiruzen watched as Inoichi and Chuza flinch, obviously surprised at how quickly their hunch had been proven. They were easy to read, but the Nara in the forefront was more complicated. He rolled his eyes, seemingly already accepting of the situation. He had always wondered if his Jonin commander knew about Naruto. The man had never asked about it, unlike the many others who did, and in his eyes now Hiruzen saw relief and elation more than confusion. He is? Asked Chuza, speaking for the first time. I have been waiting to have this conversation for a long time, added the Hokage. Inoichi took a deep breath. Why was he hidden away for so long? Why was he hidden away in the first place? The reasons are quite obvious, answered the Hokage, and were certainly of much higher concern 8 years ago. IWA or Kumo? Asked Shikaku, ignoring the looks of his teammates. Both, but probably more from IWA. Shikaku saw the Hokage smoking and decided to join him, lighting a cigarette with a long draw. So, I was right to assume all these years. Inoichi and Chuza were staring at him, as did Hiruzen. Minato didn't kill the Kyuubi, because obviously. He would never destroy the balance between the villages so easily, no. Shikaku stared at the Hokage. He sealed it away into the only person with Uzumaki blood in their veins, his own son. And no, muttered Inoichi, you're not serious. We all knew Minato well, Shikaku muttered. He would do anything to keep the village safe, even if it meant turning his son into a Jinchuriki. Is this why you hid him away? Chuza asked the Hokage. It's a part of the reason, Hiruzen answered. Inoichi gripped his fists against his legs, his knuckles white. So, it's true, it was a secret back then, but I am sure you three knew that Kushina was the previous Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Chuza and Shikaku nodded, but Inoichi only stared down at his hands. Through unknown circumstances during Naruto's birth, the Kyuubi was released. We had our suspicions, but our investigations led nowhere. Due to having the Kyuubi extracted from her after giving birth, Kushina was dying. Minato had to react quickly and seal the Kyuubi away, and the only available option was his newborn son. Chuza sighed and bowed his head. He always had to do the right thing, Minato. Yes, added Shikaku, and this is the main reason you hid him away? I did not originally plan to hide him away. Hiruzen sighed and puffed on his pipe. I originally was going to give him his mother's family name, and have him live among our people, but my bastard advisor decided to go behind my back. The rumors, muttered Shikaku. Danzo spread the rumors about a Kyuubi Jinchuriki. The old man nodded. Yes, he did. After that, there was no way Naruto could have had a normal childhood in the village. They would have hated him, and possibly even attacked him. I could not take that risk. He sighed. I promised Kushina before she died that I would take care of Naruto, and I've done just that. By hiding him in a dungeon? Asked Inoichi darkly. Hiruzen regarded him coolly. No, in the ANBU barracks surrounded by people who love him more than anyone else. The three men looked at him in wonder. Hatake Kakashi, Minato's last surviving student, practically raised Naruto himself. ANBU Commander Ryu looked over the boy's well-being ever since the day he was born. Just yesterday, when Naruto was playing with your daughter, Inoichi, his sisters baked him an entire table of snacks and food for his playdate. So, he's happy? Asked Inoichi. He's not locked away and trained as a Jinchuriki? Naruto has no idea about the Kyuubi, but he is being trained. Ever since he was a boy, he's been hounding his surrogate siblings to teach him things. I can happily say that Naruto has taken after his parents. He is as talented as Minato and as passionate as Kushina. In a few years' time, I can see Naruto becoming an essential part of Konoha. Does he know about his parents? Asked the Yamanaka. Yes, he does. Sarutobi leaned against his desk. He was raised as Uzumaki Naruto, but his parents were never hidden from him. Not everybody in the ANBU knows, but most people close to him have made the connection. It's not explicitly known, but it is the worst-kept secret in the ANBU. Glancing over at Minato's portrait hung on the wall, not to mention that he could pass for an actual clone of his father. He looks exactly like Minato, and I mean exactly like him. The only thing he inherited from Kushina is his hyperactivity, which has since been calmed by Commander Ryu's training. Chuza smiled. I'd like to meet him. And you can, replied the Hokage. The fact that he's able to play at the park and enjoy the day with friends is an indication that he is able to rejoin society. Will you let him join the academy? Asked Inoichi. He'll have friends. He's already met my daughter, and I'm sure Shikamaru and Choji would welcome him into the group. Shikaku and Chuza nodded, but Hiruzen shook his head. No, Naruto is already far too advanced for the academy. He's already mastered the 3 basic ninjutsu, and is well on his way to elemental training. Sending him to the academy will only hold him back. Shikaku smirked. He really is Minato's kid. His dream is to become Hokage, muttered the Sandaime with a smile, so he's inherited both his parents' dream. So, what's the plan here? Asked Inoichi. Have Naruto train with the ANBU until he's strong enough to actually join the ANBU? No, despite growing up in the barracks, Naruto lacks some qualities of becoming an ANBU member, not to mention he has absolutely no practical experience. He is a bright, happy, and cheerful boy without a shred of darkness inside him. If anything, he will thrive in our regular forces. The old man puffed on his pipe. I will wait until Naruto reaches the age of 12, at which point he will become a genin and be placed on a team. He will learn about teamwork, how to associate with comrades, and most importantly, gain some real-world experience. Then why not make him a genin now? Asked Shikaku. He is obviously skilled enough. He is in an integral part of his training right now, so I would rather him focus on that, to build a solid foundation. Also, when Naruto officially joins our ranks, I want him to take his father's name. The 3 men nodded along. That would put a huge target on his back, so before then, I need to be confident in his abilities. Rest assured, I won't waste his potential. As soon as he acquires enough experience and have shown leadership skills, I will promote him to a rank fitting of his skill. But we can still meet him, right? Asked Chuza. Yes, insisted the Hokage with a smile. Naruto is already quite close with little Ino-chan. Inoichi smiled at that and nodded. He asked me this morning for permission to play with her again next weekend, and of course I allowed it. I don't see why Shikamaru and Chuji couldn't be there, too. You 3 and your wives could maybe pack some food and drinks and made a day of it. Inoichi nodded happily. Thank you, Hokage-sama. We will do just that. I'll take care of the food. Exclaimed Chuza. We'll take good care of the boy. Troublesome, but I can make the time for this. Shikaku shook his head with a smile. This is not what I expected this morning, but I look forward to meeting the kid. Ino-chan speaks very highly of him, added Inoichi with a smile. She showed me the storage seal he made for her. He really is quite talented for his age. Oh, so he is learning Fuinjutsu? Asked Chuza. The Sandaime nodded. Yes, Jiraiya has a long-term training plan for Naruto for just Fuinjutsu. He will inherit his father's notes, when he improves enough, then his mother's notes, when he finishes his father's. Well then, it seems our future is in good hands. Shikaku smirked. I was starting to worry. My son is far too much like me to actually take that hat from you, Hokage-sama. And after the whole Uchiha ordeal with Itachi, I was afraid you won't find a worthy successor. Inoichi and Chuza looked surprised, but Hiruzen only nodded. Indeed, but any real possibility is still yet to be seen. We will know for sure in a few years. Shikaku stood and his brothers followed. They all bowed to their leader. Thank you for your time, Hokage-sama, and for your honesty. Yes, Hokage-sama, thank you, added Inoichi. My wife and I will sleep easier knowing the boy is safe and is being taken care of. Chuza laughed. And you should join us next weekend, Hokage-sama. I'll have enough food prepared for an army. The Hokage chuckled. We'll see, Chuza. And you're all very welcome. I've been keeping this a secret for too long and I'm happy to finally tell the truth. I'm sure Minato and Kushina are looking down on us now and are very happy their old friends are looking after their son. Inoichi nodded. We will take good care of him, Hokage-sama. I promise. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 12 puffs of smoke erupted beside Naruto, each revealing a clone. Each looked exactly like the original, with no imperfections or clear differences at all, much unlike his early attempts at the basic clone jutsu. If anything, Naruto found this clone variant to be much easier to use than the regular clone jutsu. It required much less chakra control. Any difficulty with it lay with the amount of chakra needed, and Naruto could barely feel a drain. Naruto smiled at his clones who all smiled back. This is so cool. As I said, it is not a hard jutsu to master. Commander Ryu stood in front of the small army of Chibi, his arms crossed. You still used more time than necessary to create only 12 clones, but we'll work on that as we proceed. What next, Commander? Asked the original Naruto, his clones all grinning and bouncing. Now to compartmentalize. He turned to the clones. You 7 from the left will continue with water walking. Do not stop until you manage to stand on water for more than 30 seconds. Once you've done that, you can work on running on water. We will continue to do this every day until you can effectively fight on water. The 7 clones nodded, dismissed. Hi, Commander. The 5 of you remaining clones will head to the ANBU library. There you will each choose a book from your required reading list. Read until you're too tired to concentrate or until you're low on chakra. Do not disperse yourselves until further notice. Dismissed. Hi, Commander. Ryu turned to the original as the clones sped away. When you become more accustomed to using this training method, weaken more clones. At the moment, the results are secondary. We are working on helping your body and mind adapt to the increased stress of this training method. You will feel tired, much more tired than usual, but given your Uzumaki physicality, I'm sure you can handle it. The mental stress you will incur is perhaps our biggest hurdle. If I assume correctly, you will get a rush of information the instant one clone disperses. Do not disperse them all at once, at least not until you're used to training like this. Take it one at a time and try to organize your thoughts before dispersing the next clone. Naruto nodded. I understand. Good. What should I do, Commander? Asked the original. I assume I will join the clones working on water walking? No, answered Ryu. Whenever your clones are training like this, the only thing you have to do is physically train your body. Naruto nodded in understanding. If I recall correctly, Jiraiya-sama specifically instructed you to read about resistance seals. Yes, a while ago. Have you learned how to make them? Yes, I've made a few of them already. We will start using them, instructed the commander. We will need a selection of them with varying degrees of resistance. In proportion, we will place seals on your shoulders, upper and lower arms, chest and abdomen, and all major muscles of your legs. I will let you decide on how much resistance is placed on each seal, and I'll trust you to adjust any increases in the future. This will be your personal project. Is this in preparation on taijutsu training? Asked the boy. Yes, at least preparing your body for the kind of taijutsu training we will undergo. The commander nodded. Understood? Yes, sir. Naruto saluted. Should I go prepare the seals now? No, we will start with those tomorrow. Ryu gestured Naruto to sit down as he sat down himself. I have a special task for you to do today. The boy looked excited but remained silent. I am impressed with your progression regarding social interactions. Your recent mission to befriend the Yamanaka heiress was a tremendous success, and I want you to explore that area more. Naruto leaned closer. How so? Kakashi, Tenzo, Ko, and I have discussed this closely a few nights ago after we watched your mission tapes. Naruto nodded along. We all agree that your exploration of similar social interactions will become just as important as other parts of your training. Kakashi will discuss more of this with you later, but today I am giving you a new mission. Does it involve Ino-chan? He asked as he jumped from his seat, smiling brightly. Yes, it does. Yes, cried the boy, losing his composure. It had been a long 2.5 days without his friend. Monday and Tuesday went as normal, but everything seemed lacking after meeting Ino. She was so bright, energetic, and fun. Now anything not involving her seemed dull and boring. A mission involving Ino-chan, that was two of Naruto's absolute favorite things, and he couldn't be happier. Chibi, attention. Hi, Commander. Your mission today is to surprise your new friend at the academy. It is nearing the end of the school day, so the students there should be leaving soon. I want you to find Yamanaka Ino and spend the rest of the day with her. This is an infiltration mission with a reconnaissance component. You will find the target at the academy without being seen by anyone but her. Lead her away from the academy and attempt to spend the rest of the day with her. The goal of this mission is to find out as much as you can about the target. Naruto nodded. Understood, Commander. You have one side objective. Ryu cleared his throat. I want you to count the number of times you manage to make her smile. Make her smile? Yes, understood? Yes, Commander. Good, said the commander with a nod. Dismissed. The Ninja Academy, located at the base of the Hokage mountain. The stone faces of the previous Hokage looked down on the new generation, watching over them like eternal guardians. Naruto had heard that story before from the Sandaime. Then another time, Naruto had read that the academy was built by the Nidaime Hokage before the mountain even had the Shodai's face on it, but Naruto digressed. Truth was not important in this case, just as long as the students felt protected by the Hokage, but it was far, much farther away from the ANBU barracks than the park. It was at the very edge of the village, and Naruto had never ventured so far out, but he felt confident and excited. For this mission, Naruto had foregone his godfather's new jacket, opting for more mobility. He still wore a standard issue, black ANBU utility pants and boots, complete with his usual short-sleeved, dark gray fishnet shirt. To blend in more with the civilian population, he wore a simple dark blue, high-collared jacket. It covered his seals well and the sleeves were stretchy enough to be pulled up if required. Traveling by rooftop, Naruto sped to the Hokage mountain, and soon he found the large building under it. Peering down from a tall water tower, he read the sign The Reed Ninja Academy. If that wasn't clear enough, the mass migration of students from the building should have been enough. It is 2:55 p.m., 5 minutes before the end of the school day. Naruto hunched down as he spoke into his personal log recorder. Target facility is more crowded than anticipated, but given my similar size and age compared to the people within, infiltration should prove simple. Sliding down the building, Naruto slipped into the shadows. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he whispered as a copy of himself appeared beside him. Wordlessly, the clone sped off, fully aware of the plan Naruto had thought up. Silently and seamlessly, the clone merged into the crowd, stepping behind shadows, matching their footsteps, and walked in front of distracted faces. He vanished in the crowd, an ANBU assassin in the daylight. Before long, he had sped into the academy building, speeding from one corner to the other, slipping into shadows against the light, and only stopped when he sensed her. It was the same signature. Purple, soft and delicate, like a swaying flower in the wind. It was Ino-chan. She was in a classroom, still quietly listening to the final instructions of her teacher. Jumping to the ceiling, he silently crawled to the doorway, peering through the small window on the closed door. He saw her immediately, the lone blonde in the class, her hair bright and vibrant. He felt his heart pound against his chest. It had been 2.5 days since he last saw her, and he had missed her much. His rationality returned as he shook his head. He noted that Ino sat near the back of the classroom and was the closest person to one of the windows by the side. Only one other person sat closer to her, another girl with bright pink hair. She was relatively alone. It was the perfect position. Forming a hand sign, he made another clone and immediately dispersed it, sending his memories back to his original. Outside, the real Naruto smiled. Target is located on the second floor of the academy, in a classroom by the easternmost wall. There is window access near the back and the target is the immediate person. A single distraction by the door of the classroom should draw all attention away and leave a wide enough opening for extraction. Forming another clone and destroying it, the original sent his plan to the clone. The clone smirked before attaching a seal to the door. It was a sound tag, or that was what Naruto named it. It was one of his first original seals, capable of recording a sound and relaying it back, volume adjustable. He had originally designed this seal to use against Toru and I, who would snore loudly in the cafeteria. But the Akimichi ANBU had since changed his habits and Naruto's invention lay unused, until today. Kai! Immediately, the wall vibrating loudness of snoring echoed through the hallway. The door was shaking against its hinges, and the clone wondered if he set the volume too high. With a shrug, he dispersed himself. In that instant, the original Naruto was already by the eastern wall and stood by the window outside, attached to the outer wall by chakra. He chuckled when he heard Toru and I's snoring, and when looked inside, he saw the backs of every head as they all looked over at the loud, vibrating door. With a grin, he pressed his hand against the window glass with chakra and slid it open, the snoring immediately becoming louder. Jumping inside, he realized he was right beside Ino. They were close, almost as close as they were on that bench. Her chakra filled his senses, and it was like beholding a beautiful bouquet of flowers, purple and golden. He blushed and his fingers tingled coldly, but he nudged her shoulder. She jumped and turned around. She gasped loudly, but only he heard her over the loud snoring. He winked at her, trying to control the flush he knew was on his cheeks. He pressed a finger to her lips, smiling at her bright and widened eyes. He leaned close to her, shivering as his lips nearly touched her ear. "Be quiet, Ino-chan, and come with me, okay?" She blushed to the roots of her hair, which made her look unbearably cute. He wanted to leave with her immediately, but he had to wait for her answer, staring into her pretty eyes as he did. It felt like a long time, but it was fine, he didn't want to look away anyway. But then she broke her eyes away, breaking his focus, and nodded quickly. Taking that as his K, he grabbed her hand. With everyone, even the pink-haired girl next to Ino, still watching and slowly approaching the snoring door, he pulled Ino into his arms. He knew she couldn't walk on walls yet, and could never endanger his best friend. He lifted her up and scooped his arm under her legs, smiling as held her close. He had seen this before, in a movie he watched with his sisters. It was called a bridal carry, and it was most efficient. Weight distribution was even and he had a sufficient hold on her, enough for him to safely extract his target. "Hold on tight," he whispered. Her eyes widened and her arms tightened around his neck as he jumped out the window, running up the side of the building, heading for the roof. Ino cried out in shock, which almost made him panic, but he was very close to the roof. Luckily for him, Ino's cries were muffled by the strong wind at that height, and before long, he'd landed on the barren roof. Planting his feet firmly on the ground, he grinned at Ino. "Hey, don't worry. You're really light, so I can carry you easily for a long time. I won't let anything happen to you. A fundamental rule of the ANBU, protect your client or target at all costs. But I'm sorry I scared you." "And Naruto-kun?" she asked, still reeling from the last 10 seconds of her life. "Do you want to spend today with me?" He was still holding her in his arms, but she was so light compared to his usual training weights, he almost didn't notice. She was also very warm and it felt nice to hold her in the cold wind. "My sensei let me go early and I missed you." She looked like a tomato again. Naruto would have smacked himself had he not been carrying Ino. They were standing on the roof under the afternoon sun. Of course she would be burning up again. He wondered how he could unseal a bottle of water with Ino in his arms. He could set her down, but he really didn't want to. Sure," she answered, breaking him from his thoughts as she looked up at him timidly. "I'd love to hang out with you." "Great, now Naruto-kun," she called out, her voice against the wind. "I miss you too." He felt his heart tremble and his knees quiver. She smiled up at him. Number of smiles, 1. ANBU Commander Ryu's personal training ground had been flooded, covered from end to end in waist-deep water. It nearly exhausted the chakra reserves of several new recruits, but they managed to terraform the area without much trouble. The rocky dirt field had been transformed into a small lake, complete with jagged rocks protruding the surface, and sharp cliffs lining the edges along the walls, courtesy of the commander's own Doton Jutsu. Everything was underwater, and if anyone had to do anything on the surface, be it stand, sit, or kneel, it would have to be done on water. You're slowing down, Chibi, Naruto grunted in response, forcing his legs to their limits. Sorry, Commander. The boy's legs were shaking and his whole person trembled, but he stood strong on the surface and ran. It had been 2 days since he applied the resistance seals to his body, numbering a total of 21, and he had since increased the pressure twice. His entire body, every major muscle group, was now under precise amounts of controlled pressure, designed to hinder his natural and most common movements. It had proven to be extremely effective. It became quickly apparent that Naruto healed much quicker than the normal person. Even by Uzumaki standards, the recovery time of Naruto's energy, chakra, stamina, and physical body was incredible. Strained or even pulled muscles healed within minutes. He could regain most of his energy within minutes of a small meal. His stamina suffered, but had never run out, and he'd never been close to putting a dent in his chakra reserves. Ryu had doubled Naruto's training intensity. The boy needed almost no rest, and because of his healing factor, physical gains were seen almost instantly. With this training, Naruto could maintain his absolute physical peak indefinitely, and could possibly promote faster growth. He was already taller than most other kids his age, but Ryu could see his students starting puberty in only another year or two. Only one more lap, called out the commander. You're almost finished. The boy stared at the finish line, where 7 of his clones were waiting for him. They had no use for resistance seals and were only focused on maintaining and improving chakra control, so they had finished much faster than the original. Naruto managed one more push and made it back to his teacher. Finished, Commander. Ryu nodded, his arms crossed. Good work, Chibi. He watched as the boy stand on quivering knees. Are you well enough to disperse your clones? Naruto huffed as he nodded, yes, sir. He made a hand sign and grinned at his clones, who all stared back at him in pity. They all shared the same memories, and they all knew how much exhaustion would be returning to the original. With a quick flare of chakra, Naruto cancelled his jutsu, and the 7 boys vanished with puffs of smoke. He rested his hands on his knees and braced himself. Ugh, he groaned, his head pulsing and his vision darkening, but he had grown used to such sensations. This one isn't too bad, not nearly as bad as the first time. He felt his heart race against his chest, trying to pump as much oxygen as possible through his bloodstream, and slowly, he felt his breathing calm. I think I'm getting the hang of this. Have you adjusted to your new memories? He nodded, yes, he replied with a pant. It's much easier to process if the clones were all doing the same thing. They were all just running laps on water, nothing too confusing. He managed to straighten his back, to stand upright. The other 5 are much harder to deal with. They're all reading different books on different subjects. I don't think I can pop all of them at once. I'll do those one at a time in 1-minute intervals. Very well, commended the commander. I trust your judgment. Thank you, sir. In 2 days, your 7 clones here have collectively ran on water for approximately 168 hours. Your chakra control has improved significantly, and will now be able to conduct battle scenarios and drills on water. That will be your task on Monday. Naruto nodded, his legs still shaking, but healing. While you continue with your physical conditioning, your clones will be conducting precise movement drills or battles on the water surface. It will be much more difficult than this week's training. The boy almost grimaced, but knew better. Take the next 2 days to rest. I believe you have other arrangements made already. Naruto smiled, yes, sir. His legs had stopped shaking and he was standing firm. I made plans to meet with Ino-chan again, for both days. Good, Ryu muttered, your social skills are just as important as your combat skills. Be sure to be on your best behavior and remember that your mission regarding young Yamanaka-san is still ongoing. 21 smiles, the boy said with a grin. Ino-chan smiled at me 21 times on Wednesday. I will aim for even more this weekend. The commander nodded. I also expect you to put your reading to good use. Yes, sir. Naruto's breathing returned to normal. I've read and fully comprehended the Gentleman's Guide to Etiquette, the fine art of manliness, and how to be a gentleman. Telltale Signs of the Human Body was interesting, and while they were highly recommended by Kakashi and Koenai, I still struggled to understand the concepts taught in Gentleman's Guide to Getting Lucky in Oral Warfare. That is to be expected, muttered Ryu. Those 2 books were added after the fact as outliers. We did not expect you to fully grasp the lessons within, but as you mature and grow, they should naturally come to you. Just remember the words and they will make sense in the future. The boy saluted, his body recovering. Understood, Commander. Now, we will end our training here today. Naruto's eyes brightened, but Ryu stopped him. No, this doesn't not involve your new friend. The boy pouted and stayed silent. Hokage-sama has requested your presence. He will meet with you in the playroom. Permission to go now? Asked the boy. Granted. It had been a while since Naruto had been to his playroom. Ever since he was allowed to train as an actual ninja, he felt no need to play with his old toy kunai and katana. But ever since he could remember, Naruto also associated the playroom with his Ji-chan. Some of his fondest memories as a child were playing with the Hokage, sparring with him with foam swords and pelting him with rubber shuriken. Ji-chan was younger then and could take some hits, but recently Naruto had started to worry about his beloved grandfather's health. Ji-chan, Naruto ran into the room with a grin, finding his grandfather sitting on one of many beanbag chairs. He quickly gave the old man a hug, welcoming his warmth. His Ji-chan felt thinner now, and the boy noticed that he was not much shorter than the old man anymore. "How are you feeling, Naruto?" the Hokage asked as the boy pulled away, jumping to the next beanbag chair. "Is your new training regimen too much?" "Not at all," he replied with his grin. "I do get tired a lot during training, but I feel fine after some rest. Commander said that I recover very quickly, so no matter how tired I am during the intense moments, as long as I don't push too hard, I should be fine. You do your Uzumaki ancestry proud, my boy." "Thanks, Ji-chan." The Hokage smiled at the boy. "Now, I do have something to discuss with you today." At his tone, Naruto sat upright. "We've come to a milestone in your life, Naruto. You are growing as a shinobi and as a person. Not only will you continue to develop your skills with Commander Ryu, you will also start to socially interact with others your age." Naruto nodded. "I am very happy that you've made a friend so quickly. I have met little Miss Ino-chan a few times before, and she seems like a very nice girl." Naruto gave a small smile and nodded. "She is, Ji-chan. Ino-chan is amazing." The old chuckled at the boy. "I'm sure she is. But now that you are starting to interact with people outside of the ANBU, I feel I must go over a few ground rules with you regarding certain sensitive subjects." "Such as?" asked the boy confused. "Such as your parents." The Hokage sighed. "As much as I want to give you your father's name right now, it is still too early. So for now, I only want you to use the Uzumaki name, and when people ask you about your parents, tell them that you don't know who they were." The boy nodded in understanding. "Same with your skills as a shinobi. I am very proud that you have progressed so quickly, but I need you to keep most of your skills secret. You may show some basic knowledge in Jutsu, but keep the more advanced of your arsenal to yourself." "I understand." "Which bring us to your future as a shinobi." Naruto sat taller, excited. "To be honest with you, you are already skilled enough to be a genin." The boy's eyes widened. "You already know everything the academy is required to teach, and your physical capabilities and chakra control are already beyond those of the average genin, and your chakra capacity and potency is beyond that of all jonin in the village. But at this point, it is more important for you to focus on building a strong foundation for yourself. Becoming genin right now will only hinder your training with Commander Ryu. For the foreseeable future, we will focus on your training and developing your ninjutsu and taijutsu." "I'm okay with that, Ji-chan. I love training with the commander, and I need to get stronger if I'm ever going to be Hokage." The Sandaime smiled. "That's right." He patted the boy's head. "But this doesn't mean you'll never join the regular forces. No matter how strong you are, you will need real-world experience. You also need to learn to work with other people and learn about teamwork." Naruto nodded along. "Commander Ryu and I have decided that we will focus on your training until you turn 12 years old, at which point you will be promoted to genin and join your own team with others your age." Naruto's eyes widened. "Does this mean I could be on the same team as Ino-chan?" With a chuckle, the Hokage shook his head. "Not likely. Ino-chan is the heiress of the Yamanaka clan, and she will be expected to continue the tradition of being on the same team as the Nara heir and the Akimichi heir, both of whom are also your age. The Ino Shikicho have been working together for generations. I'm sure you've learned about them by now." "Yes, I have." Naruto recalled reading about them with Kaka and I guess I never connected the thought that one of them is actually Ino-chan's father. He smiled. "Wow, Ino-chan's father must be really strong, huh? In certain fields, he is Konoha's foremost expert. If you ever meet him, be on your best behavior. You would be talking to one of the living heroes of the village." "I will, Ji-chan." Placing a hand on Naruto's shoulder, the old man continued. "When you become a genin, you will likely be far stronger than your peers. It's possible you may even match the skills of your Jonin sensei. This means I won't expect you to be a genin for long, but during that time your goal would be to amass as much real-world combat experience as possible along with learning about teamwork and the intrigue of enemy ninja. There is only so much we can teach without experiencing the real thing. Knowledge can be taught, but instinct can only be honed by experience. I'll work as hard as I can, Ji-chan." "I know you will, Naruto." The old man stood with a groan. "Now how about you join your grandfather for some dinner?" Naruto grinned. "Sure. I'm starving." It was finally the weekend, and Naruto would soon see his best friend again. It was remarkable to the young boy that his perspective on his schedule could change so much in such little time. A mere week ago, training so intensely in his new training program would undoubtedly be the highlight of his week. He could still remember dreading his weekend breaks. He'd much rather train and sweat than to lounge around doing nothing. But now, he'd felt elated about training being over, because now the weekend would let him see his first friend, Ino-chan. "Naruto-kun." Her smile was beautiful. It was bright and vibrant and lit up the world. He loved it and everything about it. How her eyes would seemingly disappear with her grin, how her lips would widen before letting out a cute giggle, and most importantly, how easily he brought it out of her. Smile number 22. It was another beautiful Saturday, and once again the park was crowded, But Naruto no longer felt uncomfortable. Perhaps he'd grown used to it, but he knew that it was because with her there, he couldn't really see any other people anyway. His eyes refused to look away from her, even when his racing heart demanded him to, but she was too radiant. Dressed in a pink sundress with her golden hair blowing freely in the wind, Naruto could only stare as she ran toward him. It was almost blinding when she reached him, but his brain quickly went into overdrive when she grabbed his hand and pulled him along. "We have to escape, Naruto-kun." "Huh?" asked Naruto as his body automatically listened to her. "Why?" he asked again, already running next to her. "Ask questions later." Ino glanced back at him, and he felt weak at the knees. "Just get us out of here." "Hi!" With a burst of speed, Naruto scooped Ino into his arms again. Channeling chakra to his feet, he pushed off the ground, vanishing in a blur. The pair was a golden blur, zipping through the park and in between people, leaving only glimpses of yellow behind as they escaped through the shadows of lounging parents and racing children. It was long before they reached the trees and vanished into the thick canopy. 5 seconds, it took too long. Naruto knew having Ino in his arms would slow him down a little, but not a 3-second delay. Perhaps he had adjusted his resistance seals a tad too much. His body had healed after his week of training and he already felt a bit too light, so he had increased the seal pressure the previous night. Naruto cursed himself inwardly. Had he known Ino would need his speed, he'd had removed the seal for her. "Sorry, Ino-chan," he whispered, finally looking down at the girl in his arms. "I'm slower than usual today." He saw Ino looking up at him in awe. "That was slow?" She blinked and looked around, seemingly realizing where they were hiding. "I've never moved that fast ever. I didn't even know people could move this fast. Are we in a tree? How did you even get up here?" "No, this is quite normal." Naruto shrugged. "I can move faster than this on better days and most of my siblings are still faster than me. You should see my sensei and Ji-chan. I can't even see them move when they run." "Really?" asked the girl. "How is that possible?" "Training, I guess." He grinned at her. "One day, I'll be just as fast as them. Give me a few years and I'll show you." Ino tightened her arms around his neck. "Sure, I'd love that. Now, are we far enough?" "What are we hiding from?" asked the boy, stretching his senses out, but not finding anything out of the ordinary. "I can get us deeper into the forest if you want." "I don't even know where we are exactly, so I don't know," she whispered back, her breath tickling his cheek. "Maybe we should just stay here for a bit." He fought off his blush and nodded, feeling his hair brush against hers. "Sure, that's fine with me." He smiled again. "You're still so light. I can hold you like this forever." Even under the shade of the thick leaves, Ino's face burned red. According to telltale signs of the human body, flushing of the cheeks could mean more than heat. It could also mean stress or embarrassment. Naruto saw no reason for the angel in his arms to feel any sort of embarrassment, so it must have been stress. Perhaps whatever they were hiding from was deeply concerning to her. "Forever?" she whispered, breaking him out of his thoughts. "You promise?" "Huh?" He pondered her words and gauged her weight before he grinned. "Sure, if you want, I'll hold you like this forever." "I promise." Ino was barely a fifth of the weight of his strongest resistance seal, so accounting for his healing factor and fast recovery, he had a reasonable chance of being able to never set her down. "And you're really warm, too," he muttered softly, a blush returning to his cheeks. "It feels nice when I hold you like this." "I'll hold you to your words," she muttered, her cheeks like a tomato. "I always keep my promises, Ino-chan." He was concerned about her burning cheeks, meaning her stress. "And don't worry. You don't have to be stressed. I'm here so I'll protect you from anything." Ino hugged him tighter. "Then let's just stay here for the rest of the day." Her head was resting on his shoulder as she looked up at him, and her eyes were so close to his. They were so blue and sparkly. His heart was punching his chest as his whole body tingled. He had never felt so odd in his entire life. He felt happy, his whole body felt elevated, like it was floating in air. He felt exhilarated, he felt like his future had been shown to him, and he was excited to savor every second. It was like his soul was fluttering and he could barely whisper a sound, but he felt he had to speak his mind. "If you want," he managed between shaky breaths, "we can even stay here forever." She tightened her arms around him again, staring up into his eyes. "I'd love to." They stared at each other, unmoving, content. Never had they experienced such confusing emotions. It felt relaxing, but also exhilarating. It felt important, but also surreal. They felt incredibly happy, but also afraid and anxious. It was complicated and beyond their understanding, but they had all day and possibly the rest of their life in that tree to figure out everything, so they just settled into growing silence. "Isn't this sweet?" A booming voice came from behind. Years of ANBU training and conditioning returned to the boy's enamored mind and flooded his body with adrenaline. His eyes hardened, losing their sparkle, replaced with a sharp glare. This was someone who evaded his sensory abilities and even managed to reach his back. All this with Ino-chan still in his arms. It was a failure of unforgivable proportions. He pulled Ino close to his chest, his arms hugging her protectively as her head hit against his neck. She was fully protected by his body before he moved. Channeling chakra into his right heel, he spun with his left leg, slicing the space behind him with a swift kick, his piercing blue eyes searching for his enemy. But his kick was stopped with a grunt of pain. Damn, kid! You're strong. A man stood before him, towered over him. He had long sandy blonde hair tied into a long ponytail, a stern face with a strong jaw, and pale blue eyes that he recognized immediately. The man was not wearing the standard uniform of the Analysis and Interrogation Corps, but Naruto knew who he was. Yamanaka Inoichi, Jonin of Konoha, and one of the legendary Ino Shikacho. Naruto's eyes widened and quickly withdrew his leg. I'm sorry. I thought you were an enemy. He is the enemy, cried Ino, who was still burning red, as she pointed at the man. Let's run away, Naruto-kun, but the boy muttered, staring up at the clearly amused man. Isn't he your father? He's still the enemy. Inoichi chuckled. You recognize me? Yes, sir. Naruto awkwardly bowed to the man, still holding on to a burning Ino. My Ji-chan told me stories about your legendary team. I've seen you in my reference books and lessons. Sorry for attacking you. The Jonin laughed and patted Naruto's head, ruffling his hair. No need to apologize. You were just protecting my daughter. Inoichi knelt down to Naruto's height. I'm impressed. You suppressed your chakra very well, and if it wasn't for my daughter, I don't think I would have been able to track you so quickly. And even in your suppressed state, I felt you trying to sense my presence. That is some advanced chakra control for someone your age. Thank you, sir. Naruto stared at the man before glancing at Ino, who was glaring at her father. But if I may ask, the man nodded, chuckling again. Is there something we can do for you? Yes. Inoichi patted the boy's head again. I'm sorry to break up your little playdate, but Ino's mother and I, and our family friends, prepared a picnic. Why don't you both come down and join us? A picnic? Asked Naruto, glancing at Ino again, who just huffed at her dad. It has been a long time since we've had a nice family outing, and I really wanted to meet this new friend my daughter keeps talking about. Ino almost glowed red. Tu-chan, shut up. Me? Yes, you. Inoichi smiled at him. It's very nice to meet you, Naruto. His tone reminded Naruto a lot of Kakashi and his Ji-chan. It's very nice to meet you too, Yamanaka-san. The man smiled. You're my daughter's friend, so just call me Inoichi Ajizan. Okay, sure. The man looked at Naruto expectantly. Inoichi Ajizan. Now, come on. Inoichi stood and gestured to the park. My friend prepared a lot of food, so let's go get some before it gets cold. Naruto blankly nodded, but Ino grunted and crossed her arms, still in her friend's strong arms. Princess, stop pouting. You can play with Naruto all you want after lunch. Fine, she muttered with a pout. Is Shikamaru and Choji here too? Of course, they are. Ino groaned. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. With a huge frown, she dropped her feet to the solid branch and stood from Naruto's arms. I'd better jump down myself. Those two can be really annoying and nosy. I don't want them to ask you too many questions. Who? Asked Naruto. Just children of my parents' friends. Ino pouted and turned from her amused father. You don't have to talk to them if you don't want to. Now, Inoichi started. I'm sure Naruto wouldn't mind meeting some new friends. He smiled at Naruto again. I'm sure you'll be quick friends with Shikamaru and Choji as well. They grew up together with Ino. They're basically like siblings. Oh. Naruto said with nod, I get it now. Just like me and my older siblings. Yes, exactly. Inoichi rubbed his daughter's head. Now, let's go. We don't want to be rude. They jumped from the tree, landing softly on the ground, but Naruto still held onto Ino's arm, afraid she'd hurt herself. She smiled at him, and he felt his heart race again, but quickly followed along as Inoichi started to make his way through the large field. Naruto had been to this park many times by now, but it was the first time walking through it with someone's parent. It was an odd feeling, but knowing that it was Ino's father made it simpler to accept. From a distance Naruto could see where Inoichi was headed, and it was a huge picnic blanket, at least triple the size of all the other normal ones around the park. He had only expected a few people, but there were 7 people sitting around the food. 2 of them were clearly kids around his age, which he assumed were Ino's childhood friends. The adults he couldn't really see, but as he approached, he quickly figured them out. Being close family friends with the Yamanaka clan was already a big clue, and now seeing the huge man in front of them, it was only logical. It was the legendary Ino Shikacho in the flesh, having a picnic. We're here. Inoichi called out as the group turned to see them approaching. Ino didn't get far. Naruto felt everyone's eyes look at him. The 2 kids around his age looked at him curiously, which was normal, but the adults were different. The 3 ladies stared at him with slightly slacked jaws, a bodily response that Naruto was unfamiliar with. Recalling his recent reading material, it could indicate surprise. Was it really so surprising that Ino met a new friend? Naruto needed more information before making any conclusions. Naruto, started Inoichi, breaking Naruto from his thoughts. Let me introduce. Naruto looked at the group. This is Nara Shikaku, said the Yamanaka. I'm sure you recognize him if you recognized me. Beside him is his wife, Nara Yoshino, and the little one is Shikamaru. He is the same age as you. This was the Jonin commander, the infamous Nara clan head. Naruto had heard so many stories about him, and Ji-chan had only ever said good things about him. But he looked much more normal than Naruto expected. The man had smiled at him like Inoichi had. And it seemed that the lady had broken out of her surprise of Ino meeting a new friend, because she also smiled at him. She looked very kind and nice. This is Akimichi Chuza, the Akimichi clan head. His wife, Akimichi Shuko, and his son, Akimichi Choji, who is also the same age as you. Inoichi chuckled, they're the ones who brought all this food. As you can see, it's basically a feast. Naruto knew Toranai was an Akimichi, and he now knew everyone in his clan must look similar to each other. Their clan head was the biggest man Naruto had ever met in his life, so his strength must be unimaginable. He had studied the caloric chakra boost of the Akimichi, and it looks as though both the clan head and his wife were extremely powerful. Their son was a bit on the heavy side, but not overly so. It seemed Choji still had much more eating to do before catching up to his parents' power. And this is my lovely wife, Yamanaka Imiko, Ino's mother. Naruto clearly saw Ino's face in her mother's. She was beautiful, too. But unlike the other two ladies, who had been happily smiling at him, Imiko looked almost in tears. Perhaps it was just allergies, because she soon smiled brightly, one that looked quite similar to Ino's, and wiped her tears away. With a quick exhale, Naruto bowed to the group. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, he managed as polite as possible. It's a pleasure to meet you all. They all smiled at him, one smile wider than the other, but Imiko stood up and approached him. She was looking at him with an unexplainable familiarity, and Naruto was baffled. His new books held no insight into such a reaction, but he was fine with it. Her smile made him feel warm and cozy. It reminded him of his sisters. It's nice to finally meet you, Naruto-chan. She hugged him tightly and he heard her sniffle. Her allergies must be back, but no matter. Her hug was warm and loving, so the boy returned the hug. Thank you, Imiko Basin. She sniffled again and choked up a little, probably holding back a sneeze. Naruto reminded himself to seal some allergy medication for the nice lady. She was nice, and he didn't want her to feel sick. Ugh, Ka-chan, stop hugging Naruto-kun already. Ino looked mad at something. Doesn't she know? Allergy symptoms are not contagious. Naruto-chan, don't be shy, Imiko encouraged as she filled the boy's plate with yet another onigiri. Eat more. You're a growing boy. Naruto bowed his head in thanks. Thank you, Imiko Basin. Having grown up in the ANBU barracks, Naruto had his own experience with eating in odd situations. The few times he was allowed to watch the new recruits run their drills, he had joined them in eating while standing upside down, their feet attached to the ceiling, but that meal had only been bland food pills. He had shared a watermelon with some of his sisters, which they had sliced with their blades, while they all bathed in the hot springs. He had even shared some soba with Commander Ryu while they watched new recruits prepare their training field. He had even glimpsed at the bottom of Ryu's face. But this was his first time eating while sitting on the ground with 8 pairs of eyes staring at him. There were hundreds of people around them in the park, but for some reason, the Ino Shikacho families found him the most interesting. Naruto gulped as he bit into honestly the tastiest onigiri he had ever had in his life, but he could barely chew under such intense pressure. Why were they staring at him? Did he look weird? Did he sit weirdly or eat weirdly? Was there something on his face? He wanted to check, but he didn't want to look even weirder. Hey! Ino's voice sliced through the silence. Stop staring at Naruto-kun. They all stammered and scrambled to look away, returning to their food. Naruto silently sighed in relief and looked to Ino, his hero, who was still glaring at her family and friends. She edged herself closer to him, as if protecting him from her family. Her wonderful flowery scent flooded his senses again, and he had to suppress another blush. He looked down at his food, but could feel the adults looking at him again, perhaps catching his blush. This is really good, he managed through a small smile. I've never had this kind of pork filling before. Chuza gave a hearty laugh and it instantly eased Naruto's shoulders. Thank you, young man. It's an old family recipe. The famous Akimichi garlic pork onigiri. The big man passed Naruto an entire plate of new food, filled with all kinds of fried meats and skewers he had never seen before. If you like those, you'd love these too. Give them a try. Naruto took the plate with both hands. Thank you, Aji-san, he muttered as Chuza grinned. This is a lot of food. It's normal for a young man to eat a lot. The Akimichi leader patted his son's head. My son here eats almost as much as me. Naruto saw the boy his age blush and look away, muttering, only on some days, too-chan. You eat even more some days, muttered Ino softly, pouting her lips as she nibbled on her own onigiri. Feeling Ino's presence beside him calmed Naruto, and he was at least able to focus on his food. It was indeed very good, as expected of the Akimichi clan, but as much as he was enjoying himself, he could still feel the adults staring at him. It wasn't as obvious as before, but they were all glancing at him every few seconds, as if they were observing him. Perhaps it was a test, and they were somehow gauging his senses or awareness. Commander Ryu had conducted surprise tests in similar situations before, but he had never been so obvious. These were the members of the Ino Shikacho. They wouldn't waste their time just testing him. There must be a bigger purpose behind this meeting, and Naruto wanted to find out. So, Naruto, came the voice of Inoichi, friendly and casual. Ino tells me that you are being trained at home. How is that going so far? Naruto sat up taller. Very good, Aji-san. He cleared his throat. My Ji-chan and sensei are teaching me. It's going pretty well, but I think it's going to get much more difficult soon. You seem to be quite a bit ahead of others your age. The man sipped on his cup as he continued. I'm impressed. Ino showed me the storage seal you made for her. That's quite advanced for someone so young. Naruto bowed his head a little in thanks. Have you been practicing Fuinjutsu long? Naruto was surprised at how curious these legendary ninjas were of him. My godfather sent me a few books about Fuinjutsu to read. Remembering the Hokage's words, Naruto opted to not mention his parents. He thought it could get me into a habit of reading every day, and I guess it worked. I really like Fuinjutsu, but I'm only a beginner. They should teach it at the academy, Ino said, her voice once again calming Naruto. They don't? He asked. She shook her head. Nope, not at all. She smiled at him, making him blush again, and he was sure the adults saw him. You should see how jealous people are of my seal. I'm the only one who doesn't have to drag around a huge backpack of books and supplies every day. Troublesome, whispered Shikamaru, the other boy his age, but he quickly looked away when Ino glared at him. You don't have the chakra capacity for Fuinjutsu yet, added Inoichi, refilling on his cup. Not to mention the advanced chakra control. It's also a dangerous practice. Any miscalculation or false ink stroke can result in disaster. He smiled at Naruto. Some people are just naturally inclined to Fuinjutsu, so it's a field more offered as an alternative career path once you become genin. Emiko looked at Naruto softly. Is that something you plan to do, Naruto-chan? No, probably not, he replied politely, wiping his mouth clean. I use Fuinjutsu more as a supplement to ninjutsu, so I would probably want to join the regular forces. He sat taller, looking seriously at the adults. My dream is to become Hokage, so aiming for Jonin should be my first goal. Hokage, muttered the surprisingly relaxed voice of the Shikaku. That's quite the lofty goal, Naruto. The Jonin stared at the boy, who only returned his stare. I had a couple of classmates who wanted to become Hokage too. Even when they were your age, they wouldn't stop yapping about it. He chuckled, rubbing the back of his head. They worked day and night for it, for years and years. If that's your goal, you'll have to do the same. His eyes lost their bemusement as he looked into Naruto's eyes. Are you willing to do that? Naruto nodded, poised and confident. Absolutely, sir. A twinkle returned to Shikaku's eyes as he smiled with a nod. Good, he muttered as he downed another drink. I'm glad there is someone like you in this new generation. He turned to his son, who was still looking bored, and rubbed the top of his head. If every kid your age acts like my lazy boy here, we're all doomed. Shikamaru grunted and shoved his father's hand away as Shikaku turned back to Naruto. I actually have some hope for the future now. Gee, thanks for your vote of confidence, Shikaku-Ajizan, muttered Ino, making the man laugh. Finally, Naruto's nerves had calmed and his smiles again came easily. The food did taste very good, and as the morning sun passed into the afternoon, the conversations flowed. Naruto did not speak much, but he was content to watch and observe. He had his fair share of family meals at home, but their topics had never been so domestic. Sure, his sister may sometimes share gossip and recipes, but they'd never spoken about grocery sales or domestic chores before. It felt different, but it was nice and warm, and Naruto felt glad to be a part of it. With every joke attempted and story told, Naruto had eaten another plate of food, and soon his stomach was bursting and he started to sweat. He hadn't realized how much he was eating, and he had actually been the last person outside of the Akimichi family to stop eating. Resisting a groan, he sat back and slumped against his crossed legs. Ino giggled at the sight of him, her lingering eyes feeling hot against his skin, and he couldn't stop that blush from burning his cheeks. He carefully wiped his mouth clean and rinsed his mouth, making sure to maintain proper etiquette. He had lost himself in the great food for a second, but the knowledge from his new books came rushing back. When in public, especially in the presence of Ino, he had to be a gentleman. Calm, poised, and collected. You know, Naruto-chan, came the loving voice of Emiko. Ino-chan talks about you a lot at home. That seemed to have silenced the conversations around the picnic blanket as everyone looked over at Naruto and Ino. Naruto wasn't sure why, but he glanced around and saw the three ladies sharing a sly smile before staring at him, as if expecting him to react. His three new uncles also behaved oddly, looking at him with a sort of concern, or perhaps pity. Kaa-chan! Cried Ino, her face burning red. And no, what? I'm just telling the truth, the elder Yamanaka woman answered. I feel like I already know Naruto-chan because of how much you talk about him. Perhaps Ino's parents also requested daily mission reports from Ino? Naruto wasn't sure, but clearly he was not the only one sharing information about their newfound friendship. His new aunt was smiling, so that had to be a good sign. She was definitely not against his association with Ino. Naruto wasn't sure of all the facts, but he digressed. As long as he could spend more time with Ino, nothing else mattered. How do you feel about it? Asked Emiko. Naruto shrugged. I didn't know about it, but it's not all that surprising. Emiko and the other ladies looked confused by his reaction, but he returned with a smile. I talk about Ino-chan all the time at home. I guess my family might feel like they know her too. Thinking back to the time his siblings took to watch over his mission tapes, he nodded. Oh yeah, they would definitely feel like they know her. They asked me about her a lot. Ino's face went even redder, and Naruto discreetly pushed a bottle of water closer to her. Ah, really? Asked Emiko. I've never really met anyone my age before, so Ino-chan is the first friend I've ever made. He smiled at his new aunt. I guess my family was worried about me, so they asked me a lot of questions. He shrugged, but I was fine with it. I'm always happy to talk about Ino-chan. Ah? Asked Emiko happily. See Ino? Naruto-chan talks about you all the time, too. It's completely normal. Naruto nodded. I do, he simply said before smiling. I was actually really excited about today, too. I only get to see Ino-chan on weekends. He smiled at Ino, who shakily looked away. I used to not like weekends that much, but now I can't wait for them. Oh, you're so sweet! Exclaimed Emiko, Yoshino and Shuko giggling behind her. A boy who's not afraid to admit his feelings, added Yoshino with a proud nod. You're a rare one, Naruto-chan. Ugh, I guess? He replied, not really understanding. Shuko giggled at the burning Ino, but turned to Naruto. Do you miss Ino-chan a lot during the week? I do, admitted the boy loudly, making Ino squeak in response. Of course I do. I even wondered if my Ji-chan and sensei would let me attend the academy, but I know they'd say no. He nearly pouted, making the ladies giggle again. It'd be way more fun if we could play every day. Inoichi sighed as he silently watched the scene. No wonder Ino-chan didn't want us to come today, teased Shuko. She wanted her alone time with Naruto-chan. Ino once again looked like a tomato, and Naruto wondered why the adults weren't concerned about her. I feel a little sorry for being in the way. Are you okay, Ino-chan? Asked Naruto as he looked over her turned shoulder, seeing her burning cheeks. Is it too hot out here? Ino shook her head before nodding her head, making Naruto even more confused and worried. Ah, she's fine, Naruto-chan. Emiko placed a hand on her cheek, smiling happily. You really care about Ino-chan, don't you? Of course I do. Naruto wondered if he was missing something, or can the adults not see how red Ino was becoming. She's my best friend, he muttered, looking over at Ino, frowning at her glowing face. Emiko giggled. I'm glad she met you, Naruto-chan. You have a much better influence on her than those girls she used to play with. Naruto nodded perfunctorily, his eyes never far from the now swaying Ino. I didn't expect her to find a boyfriend. Ino squeaked again and looked ready to pass out, which made Naruto almost panic. Sorry, I mean a friend who is a boy. She giggled again, giddy at the scene. I think it's getting a little too hot out here. He looked up. The afternoon sun is dangerous. Yoshino giggled. Why is it dangerous? I'm sure you know, but Ino-chan isn't good with heat or the sun. Naruto didn't want to overstep, but Ino needed help. I actually came prepared for this. Tapping on his forearm, he unsealed an umbrella. I knew this might be a problem, so I brought this just in case. He opened the umbrella, black and opaque, and it blocked out all the sunlight. He sat closer to Ino and held it above her. This should help with the heat, Ino-chan. Yoshino stifled a laugh as the others succumbed. I don't think there's anything wrong with Ino-chan, Naruto-chan. It's not even that hot today. Huh? Asked Naruto baffled. No, it's definitely too hot. He reached for a bottle of water and handed it to Ino, who managed to shakily take it from him. Ino-chan's face gets really red in the sun. Today is way too hot for her. It might worsen into a heat stroke. Shuko cooed at him. You are just too cute. This level of cute cluelessness is dangerous, added Yoshino, chuckling. It's definitely a killer. And Naruto-chan, managed Emiko as her shoulders shook with laughter. It's definitely not a heat stroke. How can you be sure? Asked the boy, leaning over to Ino. He gently reached over and placed a hand on her forehead, and it was burning hot. No, you're burning up even worse than last time, Ino-chan. You really should drink some water. Ino wasn't responding. Naruto wondered if she could even open a bottle of water in her state. He should help her, he thought, but he was holding the umbrella. Should he put the umbrella down? He could quickly open the bottle and hand it to her, but a couple of seconds in the hot sun could be very dangerous for her. Should he use a Kage Bunshin? That would expose his skills too much. Why weren't they helping him? Naruto, came the voice of Shikaku. The umbrella is a good idea, but it might not be enough. Naruto's eyes widened, but listened on. Why don't you take Ino-chan over to the shade? She can cool down over there. The boy scrambled to keep the umbrella over Ino's head as he fumbled to his feet. We'll leave her in your care. Make sure she drinks plenty of water, okay? Yes, sir. Naruto threw the umbrella into the air, making it hover over Ino for a second, keeping her safe, before scooping her into his arms again. Let's go, Ino-chan. He sped off, wondering if he should release his resistance seals, but the Hokage's words flooded his mind. He had to keep his true skills secret. It would take a few seconds more, but he'd make it to the shade on time. He'd never let anything happen to his precious friend. The instant the two blonde children were out of sight, the floodgates opened. Emiko, Yoshino, and Shuko all burst into laughter, clutching their stomachs as tears fell from their eyes. Drinks were spilt, cups were knocked over, and the people around them were staring, but they didn't care. Even Chuza and Shikaku joined in with a few chuckles, shaking their heads in amusement. The only person silent and stoic was Inoichi. Well, Inoichi, said Shikaku with a grin, your worries are over. Chuza laughed. I'd say so. Yoshino leaned against her husband, still trembling in laughter. Heat stroke. Ino-chan must blush a lot around Naruto-chan, added Shuko in between breaths. He even brought an umbrella. He must think she has the worst heat tolerance in Hai no Kuni. Emiko shook her head with a wheeze. I've never seen Ino so red. I know you worry about Ino-chan's future, but now it's settled. There's no coming back from this one. Shikaku chuckled again, looking at Inoichi. That boy there is a natural. The perfect clueless pretty boy. Give him a few more years and we'll be hearing wedding bells. Choji, Shikamaru, said Inoichi, breaking his silence with a smile. Why don't you boys go play in the park? You've both been patient enough. Choji grinned and nodded. Sure. Let's go, Shikamaru. Troublesome, the Nara heir muttered as he stood up. Okay, but this has been one weird day. He looked over in the direction Naruto and Ino disappeared before looking at his father. I think that guy might be an idiot. Shikaku shook his head. No, son. He is actually extremely gifted. He waved his son off, but don't think too much of it. This isn't the kind of talent you should worry about. I doubt you'd want it even if you could learn it. Nope, definitely not. Shoving his hands in his pockets, Shikamaru walked off. Come on, Choji. Finally, Inoichi watched as the remaining children ran off before slouching down with a sigh. He looked in the direction his daughter was taken away, a melancholic expression on his face. He knew this was something he'd eventually had to deal with, but not so soon. He foolishly thought his daughter was still a child and he'd have his little princess until at least after she would graduate the academy. He sighed again, mourning his time lost. My little princess, he muttered, downing another drink. Emiko rolled her eyes, still smiling. Come now, dear. This is just some puppy love. There's no harm in it. She leaned into him, and Naruto-chan probably has no idea what is even happening. He's just worried about his friend. I guess so, Inoichi said with another sigh. At the very least, I much prefer her crushing on Naruto than the Uchiha boy she used to be obsessed with. Yes, this is a good thing. Emiko sighed happily, whispering her next words. If Kushina and Minato had lived, Ino and Naruto-chan would have grown up together. They're just catching up on lost time. Inoichi smiled at the thought. Yeah, that's true. Kushina would have loved this, Yoshino whispered, smiling fondly. She would have spoiled the hell out of Ino-chan just for being the only girl in the group. She chuckled. Can you imagine how much she'd love Ino if she found out about Ino's crush? She'll basically be adopted into their family within a day. She'd have the names of her future grandchildren on standby. Chuza gave a low laugh. Might even start knitting some children-sized scarves. Minato would probably try and fail to calm her down, added Shikaku with a smile. Then he'd probably come to us for advice. There is no way I'd ever stand in Kushina's way, answered Chuza. She was a natural disaster on her own. Shuko smiled and sighed, looking up at the clear skies. They both must be smiling down on us right now. Inoichi sighed and nodded. Yeah, they must be. He thought of Naruto. He looks so much like Minato. He chuckled. It's uncanny. He somehow managed to wipe Kushina's genes from the boy. The only thing I can see he got from her is his personality, and even then, he's like a perfect mixture of his parents. He wants to be Hokage, Yoshino whispered, just like them. The boy is talented, muttered Shikaku, downing another drink. Hokage-sama basically stated his intention to groom Naruto into the next Hokage. He's being personally trained by the best of the best. Give him a few more years and he'll be stronger than all of us. He burped and sighed. I have no doubt that Naruto will become one of the strongest of his generation. The Hokage will make sure of that. All we have to do is to make sure he grows into a balanced and decent man. Emiko nodded. I'll make sure of it. I'll take care of him like he's my own son. Yoshino smirked. Good, because there's a good chance he'll be your son-in-law. I can live with that, answered Inoichi before his wife. If he's anything like his father, I know he'll treat my princess right. Emiko rested against her husband. Maybe I should start knitting some scarves. Once again, Naruto and Ino returned to their quiet sanctuary, the thick canopy of their favorite oak tree. The young boy managed to shave 1 second off his previous attempt and made it to the tree in only 4 seconds. Cradling Ino in his arms, he gently sat down on one of many thick branches, resting his back against the trunk of the tree. It was once again silent and Naruto felt his body relax. It had been a fun lunch and he really enjoyed meeting his new aunts and uncles, but he loved nothing more than to be alone with Ino. Breathing a sigh of relief, Naruto lowered Ino onto his lap, still holding her close. She still felt so light and delicate that he didn't dare let her go. Her shoulders were trembling and her hands were shaking, not to mention her still burning face. She must have felt uncomfortable, and he wanted nothing more than to soothe her. Is this better, Ino-chan? He whispered softly, his voice barely louder than the soft breeze that surrounded them. Do you need any water? Ino gently shook her head, and no, she whispered. Brushing his knuckles against her forehead, he sighed. You're still so hot. He gently blew on her forehead, hoping to ease her pain. I'm sorry. I should have gotten you out of there sooner. It's okay, she replied, looking down at her folded hands still shaking. I'm starting to feel better. Following her gaze, he found her hands. With one hand on her back, keeping her close, he reached with his other for her hands. Your hands are cold, he whispered. Do you feel any chills? I'm worried you might have a fever. She shuddered a breath. I'm fine, Naruto-kun. He rubbed her cold fingers with his own, holding both her hands with his own. Are you sure? Why, yes. She was still trembling, and she must have been tired, because she rested her head against his shoulder. It was a bit hot out there, but it's nice and cool in here. She managed to peek up at him, briefly looking into his worried gaze. I love it in here. He smiled and nodded. I love it in here too. They sat in silence, Naruto on the branch and Ino on his lap, her head resting on his shoulder. The soft breeze blew through the leaves around them and fluttered a soft tune, soothing them both. As he relaxed, Naruto tilted his head to the side, resting his cheek against Ino's hair. It was soft and silky and smelled of sweet flowers. He wondered if any flower could match her sweetness. Probably not. Breathing in her scent, he smiled, lifting up his legs a little, tilting her closer into his chest. I think we should make this our fort, whispered Ino, rubbing her red cheek against his shoulder. What's that? He asked softly, feeling almost sleepy. He couldn't see her, but felt the curve of her smile. Make this our fort, our place. This could be where we would always meet. We never play in the park, anyway, so why not just stay here whenever we play? She giggled. I actually wanted to hide out here today. We only have the weekend for ourselves. I didn't want to share it with other people. I didn't mind it, he whispered, enjoying the serenity. Lunch was very good, and your parents are great. I've never really met anyone like them before, but for someone so famous, your dad and your uncles are all very nice. Ino giggled. They really like you. He felt her hair tickle his face, smiling at the feeling. Especially my mom. I've never seen her so happy to meet my friends. I don't think she even treats Shikamaru and Choji like that. At the mention of the other boys, he added, your friends seem nice, too. I didn't get to speak to them that much, but I think I'll like them, too. They're okay, she answered with a smile. You'll have to get used to them. Shikamaru is the laziest person I've ever met. He never does his homework and always falls asleep in class. Naruto wondered if the academy was particularly lax. Had he fallen asleep during his lessons, Commander Ryu would throw him in the water. Choji is a little better in class, at least he doesn't sleep. But he is always eating something. I don't know where he hides them all, but he always has a bag of chips with him. It seems fun, he added, going to the academy. If only I could attend too. Ino nodded against his shoulder. If only. He smiled against her hair. Actually, no. Ino frowned and shook her head. I don't want Ami and the others to meet you. They get crazy whenever a cool boy joins our class. Naruto couldn't really understand, but listened on. They'd crowd around you all day, trying to fight for the seat beside you, and you would never be able to eat in peace during lunch. If I ever go to the academy, I'd only sit next to you. Naruto shrugged. I guess for lunch we can just hide in trees. I saw a few tall and large oaks around the building, so we can make another fort there. You wouldn't want to meet other friends? She asked, glancing up at him. I guess I can meet a few more, but I doubt I'd like them more than I like you. He smiled and her face grew red again. You're my first and best friend. You're more important than anybody. Ino hid her face, tucking her head under his chin. I like you more than anybody too. His heart was once again fluttering and he couldn't stop his smile. Even if I can't go to the academy with you, we'll still become genin at the same time. Rubbing his cheek on her hair, he continued, we're the same age and my Ji-chan told me that I'd be allowed to join the ranks when I turned 12 years old. When you graduate I'd be there too. Ino looked at him with a wide smile. So there's a chance we'll be on the same team? He gave a sad smile. Probably not. The Ino Shikacho formation has been a tradition for decades. I doubt they'd change it this generation. She pouted. So I'm stuck with those two for the rest of my life. He chuckled as she rested her head back on his chest. We won't be teammates, but we'll probably go on some missions together. And when we become genin, we become adults too. We can decide our own schedule, and we can be together anytime we want. Ino sighed happily. Just 4 more years to go. He couldn't help but wrap his arms around her, holding her closer to him. I really can't wait. Genin is just the first step. Chunin and Jonin are next. The sooner I become a Jonin, the sooner I can potentially become Hokage. She looked up at him, her chin against his chest. I have these 4 years to train as much as I can without any missions. He smiled down at her, staring into her lovely eyes. I'll become strong, Ino-chan, I promise. I will, too, she whispered. The Hokage's best friend should also be strong, right? He grinned. Yep, let's get strong together, Naruto-kun. For now, we are finished with your physical conditioning. Naruto stood tall and straight as he silently referred to Commander Ryu, staring at the imposing dragon mask as the man spoke. Every inch of his body was in pain, all his muscles burning in shreds, his vision fading, and his mind pulsated as if threatening to implode. Still, he stood strong and proud, as he was trained to be. He had no mask of his own yet, but Naruto was an ANBU member through and through. We have reached the peak of what your body could achieve given your young age. Any more and we risk injury, and most likely diminishing returns, explained the commander, crossing his arms in thought. The physical strain of our regular training routine will suffice in maintaining this physical standard. We may return to conditioning once every few months, depending on how fast your body matures. Naruto nodded. I understand, sir. Good, Ryu continued. We can now move on to the next step of your training. I am ready, Commander. Ryu nodded. Physical conditioning was the first part of your training. It is to simply prepare your body for the intensity and vicissitude of what is to come. You have shown promise beyond my expectation, and Hokage-sama has allowed me to further accelerate this training program. A scroll was unsealed in the commander's hand and he tossed it to the boy, which is why I am giving you this. A new jutsu? Naruto asked as he held the scroll. This is an A-ranked forbidden ninjutsu, Tajikage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto's eyes widened as he held the scroll tighter. This is the original version of the Kage Bunshin, invented and personally used by the Night-Aim Hokage. Unlike the previous variant you were using, the original has no physical limit. This will allow the user to create as many clones as they want, with the only risk being chakra depletion. As previously discussed, this will not be an issue for you. Naruto stared at the scroll before looking up at his sensei. How many clones am I allowed to make right now? With your chakra reserves and chakra control now, you will be able to create upwards of 500 clones. For the first time in your life, you will feel drained and chakra depleted. He stepped closer to the boy, sighing. Although this jutsu has no limit, I will set a limit at 500. You are not allowed to exceed that number until given further permission. Understood? Yes, sir. Naruto nodded, clutching the scroll in excitement. We will work within the upper limit of that range. Ryu sighed again, perhaps in worry, Naruto thought. Every day, you will aim to create exactly 365 clones. It will take some practice to precisely create that many, but you will grow accustomed to it. This number makes it easy for me to track the amount of training accumulated. This way 1 day of training equates to 1 year of training. He pointed over to the far side of the training field, at the large table laid out. To help us count, I've ordered exactly 365 training bands, color-coded into 5 colors. This is meant to compartmentalize your clones, splitting them into 5 groups of 73, each group being able to learn on their own. Am I to start my elemental training? You are, replied the commander with a nod. I expect you will only have 1 chakra nature to start, which will occupy 1 group of clones. A second group of clones will work on your second strongest chakra nature, which I don't expect you to have in the beginning. The third group of clones will focus on more advanced chakra control, which you will need as your chakra reserves grow disproportionately faster than your body. The fourth group of clones will focus on taijutsu. We will work on finding your personal style and utilize this new physical prowess you've achieved. Naruto nodded along, almost overwhelmed by the quick expansion of his training regimen. As for the fifth group of clones and yourself, I will leave with you. The boy looked up in surprise. Ultimately, I am focusing on teaching you the basics, building your foundation. Your future specialty, your main focus, I'll need you to discover on your own. Whether you want to focus on Fuinjutsu, Kenjutsu, or any combinations of any of them all, use these clones and decide for yourself. Naruto saluted the commander. Permission to begin training immediately? Granted. Learning the Tajikage Bunshin no Jutsu was easy enough. There was scarcely any difference from the variant. In fact, it had fewer hand signs and was entirely dependent on chakra reserves. With Naruto's new level of chakra control, and with him growing accustomed to using Kage Bunshin, it only took the boy an hour to adequately perform the jutsu. With a cloud of smoke, the training ground was filled with his clones, all dressed in white and black armor stretching to the far side of the room. Each clone took a training band for themselves with at least a few dozen clones left without. He had made over 400 clones. But before long, 365 clones stood before the original and Commander Ryu, separated by color of band, all staring at them. The commander made 2 clones of his own and they stood before the blue-banded clones and the black-banded clones. Blue-banded clones will follow me to the ANBU training field 3. Announced one of the commander's clones. You are going to be working on chakra control. Some clones muttered about choosing the wrong color as they all sped from the room, racing down the halls in a stampede. Black-banded clones will follow me to training field 8, commanded another of Ryu's clones. We will work on taijutsu. Again, another stampede of Naruto stormed through the underground halls of the ANBU barracks. The original commander turned to the original Naruto, handing him a piece of paper, and Naruto knew exactly what it was. He had been looking forward to this ever since his Ji-chan had explained to him the concept behind elemental training. He quickly took the chakra paper and held it tightly between his fingers, looking up at his sensei for permission. Ryu nodded. Go ahead, channel your chakra through the paper. Yes, sir, he muttered, looking down at the piece of paper. The piece of paper immediately split in half before burning to ash. Naruto watched in widened eyes, surprised at the outcome. He looked up at the commander, but the man's eternal dragon mask blocked his expression. Though his silence spoke volumes, and Naruto waited in excited silence for Ryu to speak. You have a natural affinity to two chakra natures, which is significantly rare for someone your age. Fire and wind, a powerful combination. If you can utilize both elements, you will be able to fight effectively in close, mediate, and long-range battles. Wind can also bolster fire, potentially doubling your destructive capabilities. Naruto shook in excitement, and could barely keep himself from cheering. This is a surprise, but a welcomed one. Making another 2 clones, Ryu sent them to the red-banded clones and white-banded clones. Even the colors match well. Naruto smiled with a nod. Red-banded clones will follow me to Training Field 1, came the command of Ryu's clone. We will be working on Fire Elemental Chakra. White-banded clones will come with me to Training Field 2, said the other clone. We will work on Wind Chakra. The 2 groups of grinning and cheering clones sped out of the room, flooding the hallways again. Naruto chuckled at the scene, almost wanting to follow them. He had wanted to learn about elemental manipulation for years, but now he had to wait until his clones dispersed in order to know. Fire and wind. He had wondered for so long about his chakra nature, and now he had too. He couldn't help but wonder what his clones would be learning. Chibi, came the voice of the original commander. I leave this to you now. The yellow-banded clones are yours to command, and you can use this training field here. You may choose to focus on whatever you want. You may change subjects and switch fields. Feel free to explore your options. As long as you are learning, whether it be new subjects or just about yourself, it is not a waste of time. He crossed his arms again. I must report to Hokage-sama. My clones will disperse your clones when they're finished, so take your time here and I'll let you decide on when to stop. I understand, Commander. He bowed as Ryu vanished. Thank you, sir. Naruto faced his remaining clones and smirked. Well, I think you all know what we'll be doing. Hi! Naruto had been exhausted before, or so he had thought. In the boy's short life, he had been training for years. He had sparred countless times with his siblings, been taught all sorts of interesting and cool techniques, and had even trained a few times with the Hokage himself. He thought he understood exhaustion after all he had been through, but those were but hiccups compared to actual exhaustion. He felt empty. You shouldn't push yourself too hard, Naruto-chan. Naruto could barely hear the sweet voice of his Yugaone as he slumped against the dinner table. He had anticipated some fatigue and had the foresight to wait until he was with his siblings in the cafeteria before his clones dispersed, but what came was a mountain of pain. While waiting for his food, his eyes rolled behind his head and he briefly passed out on the table. He woke up to the entire room filled with his concerned siblings around him, all keeping a safe distance in order to give him some breathing room. Only Yugaone and Kaka and I were beside him. This is the first time I've ever seen you like this, Chibi. He felt Kakashi ruffle his hair and he tried to sit up. Even pushing himself up was straining, but he managed to sit up with a groan. He managed a small smile for his siblings, his smiling growing at the sight of them all sighing in relief. Most of them returned to their seats, but still looked over at him concerned. He waved them off, returning to sipping on his juice through a straw. Finishing his cup with a slurp, he sighed. I'm okay, he muttered, his vision clearing more. It's getting easier. Commander Ryu told me of your new training method. Kakashi rested his chin on his hand, leaning on the table. Quite ingenious, but practically suicidal for the vast majority of people. I honestly wasn't sure if you could take it, but I guess I was wrong. I still think this is too reckless. Yugao pulled Naruto closer and kissed his hair. Naruto-chan is still a child. He may have potential, but there's no need to push him this much. Naruto rested against Yugao's shoulder. I'm okay, Nae-chan. I was too excited and pushed myself more than I should have. I'm just not used to using so many clones. As soon as I get used to it, I would be able to brace myself for the recoil. Yugao sighed. You passed out, Naruto-chan. You never get tired, and you pass out. This is a dangerous amount of fatigue for one day of training. It's technically 1 year of training. Kakashi, I smiled at the pair. Chibi did 1 year's worth of training in 1 day and only pass out for a few seconds. That's quite an accomplishment already. Not to mention that his chakra levels are already replenishing. He tapped his headband. I made sure to check with my Sharingan. Yugao sighed again as Naruto gave a weak grin. Give him a few more hours and he'll be bouncing off walls again. Yep. Chirped the boy, smiling up at his sister. Don't worry, Nae-chan. She kissed his head again. Fine, but I'm watching you. Once Mizu, Nana, and Shiki come home, they'll be on you like hawks too, so you better not take it too far again. Naruto nodded. I promise I won't. How do you feel? Asked Kakashi. Your exhaustion, I understand, but what about your memories? Have you organized them yet? Most of them. Naruto grunted a little in pain. There were a lot of clones, but they were only working on 5 things. Their memories pretty much pieced themselves together immediately. Kakashi nodded as Yugao pulled the boy closer. There's still a bit of overlapping and confusion, but Commander Ryu taught me how to meditate before bed to organize my thoughts. I should be able to clear my head tonight. Good, because the commander will have you do this again tomorrow. Yugao winced. Every day? Every weekday, answered Naruto. I get the weekends to myself. Kakashi chuckled. Of course, not even the commander will get in the way between you and your Ino-chan. Naruto's eyes widened at the mention of his best friend. I almost forgot. Is Tenzo and I back yet? I need his help. Yeah, Team Ro all returned last night, answered Kakashi, his brow raised curiously. What do you need from him? Naruto grinned. I am working on a project for myself. It involves a tree, so I really need Tenzo and I. I guess if he's not here, muttered the ANBU captain as he looked around the room, then he's in his room. Probably trimming his bonsai again. I'll go find him. Before Yugao could stop him, his stomach growled loudly. He groaned and slumped. I'll go find him after dinner. Nei-chan, he whined, what is taking so long? Yugao giggled and hugged him close. It's dinner rush, Naru. Naruto found himself missing the Akimichi Anajirai a lot. Another day passed and Naruto was once again groaning in pain. This time he had dispersed the clones one group at a time, leaving 5 minutes rest in between each group. The memories no longer overlapped, and they all organized themselves almost immediately. His body was still strained, but his mind and vision were clear. A few more days of this, he should be able to recover normally. A few more years of this, he might be ready to become Jonin. Leaving his aspirations aside, Naruto grunted as he stepped into the evening air, the orange glow of the slowly setting sun warming his exhaustion. Are you sure you can walk that far? Yes, Tenzo and I. Naruto looked up at his brother with a grin. This is nothing compared to yesterday. I can carry you if you're too tired. He nearly pouted. I'm not a little kid anymore. Tenzo chuckled. You used to beg me for piggyback rides. He sighed and shook his head. Kids grow up so fast. Just come on, Ni-chan. Gritting his teeth, Naruto ignored the soreness and sped off, Tenzo following coolly beside him. His body was working overtime to recover his chakra reserves and stamina, but he felt it working as he jumped from rooftop to rooftop. The village was becoming familiar to him, and he no longer had to pause to figure out where he was, and very soon they were at his usual park. It was not nearly as busy on a weekday evening, but there was still plenty of people around. Slipping through the shadows, Naruto maneuvered himself behind every prying eye, Tenzo effortlessly doing the same behind his brother, the two ANBU trained shinobi not stopping until reaching the tall oak tree. Here we are! Naruto panted as he happily pointed at the tall oak. This is the tree. Tenzo shrugged and nodded. Yeah, this is a strong tree. He placed his hand on the trunk. Old too. At least 100 years old. This tree has been here since the founding of the village. He smiled down at his brother. Might have even been created by the Shodai himself. Some sources say the Shodai had a certain propensity for oaks. Wow, really? Naruto looked awed. Can you feel the Shodai's chakra in it? Tenzo chuckled and shook his head. No, it doesn't work like that. This is just a regular tree now. It might be tougher than trees found outside of Konoha, but just a tree. He grinned. So this is the place, huh? Your little personal home with your girlfriend. Naruto blushed. She's my best friend, Ni-chan. Ah yes, Tenzo nodded sagely. She's just a girl who is your friend. Now please help me. Tenzo rubbed Naruto's head, chuckling at his pout. Fine. He cracked his fingers and looked around. I'm in my civilian clothes right now, so stand guard and make sure no one sees. He turned to the tree. It's not crowded here, but we can never be too careful. Naruto nodded, stretching his senses to his limit. There are a few people around, but they are far enough away. None of them are walking to this direction, he muttered, his eyes closed as he searched with his chakra. We are about a kilometer away from the park, so the few people there shouldn't see us in any detail. Tenzo nodded. Good. Naruto watched as his brother jumped into the tree, blending perfectly in the green and brown. Dutifully, the boy turned to guard the area, his chakra still searching frantically around them for any activity. Thankfully, there was none, but he felt his brother's chakra spike. Still focusing his sensory abilities, Naruto turned to watch his brother work. His eyes widened in awe as he watched the branches of his favorite tree become malleable. Some branches grew and stretched until they attached together, merging into a structure. It grew and expanded under the canopy, forming into sides and frames. In under 10 seconds, hidden under the large and thick canopy, was a large treehouse. Naruto smiled brightly at the sight. It was beautiful. Using the central trunk as a pillar, the house formed around it, and connected nearly all surrounding branches together to form a solid and flat floor, perfectly square around the trunk. Walls sprouted along the sides, made of polished wood, shiny and smooth, reaching nearly the top of the canopy before connecting back to the trunk. His brother was not finished, as a large circle was cut from each side of the 4 walls, making 4 windows for natural light. Then a base door was cut into the floor, wooden hinges allowing it to open and close with a wooden lock to lock. The door was made perpendicular to the trunk of the tree, where slowly, a ladder pattern was cut into the thick bark, forming an easy access way to the door. In a puff of smoke, Tenzo appeared next to Naruto, arms crossed. What do you think? I could have made it fancier if I had more time, but it should do for a playhouse. It's amazing, muttered Naruto softly, looking up at his brother with a smile. You're amazing, Ni-chan. Tenzo chuckled and ruffled his hair. Anything for my little brother. I can't believe you made it so fast. Making it is the easy part. Tenzo hummed and thought, how do you plan to hide it? It can't be a secret fort if everyone can see and find it. Naruto grinned and revealed a new seal on his arm, this one on the top of his forearm in the shape of the Konoha leaf. Tapping it, he unsealed a stack of tags, all freshly drawn and sealed. I've been using my personal training time to create these new seals for the treehouse. It took me and all 73 of my yellow banded clones 2 whole days to complete. Tenzo sighed. Naruto, you're supposed to be working on serious things, not things to impress your girlfriend with. She's my best friend. Naruto exclaimed with a grunt, and these are very useful in battle situations. Really? Asked Tenzo with a coy smirk. What do they do? Come on, I'll show you. Looking around before moving, they ran up the tree and into the treehouse. Naruto marveled at the intricacy of the completely wooden door mechanic and was practically bouncing off the wooden walls in excitement. It was even more amazing on the inside. Perfectly smooth and polished wood on all sides with a bird cage pattern forming on the walls leading up to the tip ceiling. Even the flooring matched the hardwood floors of their living quarters at the barracks, not to mention that the entire house smelled of delightful vanilla. This is amazing. When I retire from ANBU, I can be a carpenter. Tenzo smirked, but never mind that. Hurry up and show me your new seals. Okay, Naruto started as he held his first seal between his fingers. This here is just your standard silencing seal. He attached one seal to each of the 4 walls, so no matter how loud it gets in here, so one will hearing anything on the outside. Tenzo stifled a laugh. Yep, standard practice. What's not standard about this is I will also attach a sound seal on the outside of the treehouse. I made this originally to prank Tora and I for his snoring, but this is more practical. Tenzo chuckled, but continued to listen. This seal takes the recorded sound sealed within it and plays it out like a speaker. I've recorded ambient sound around this park for an hour. It will loop and replay the same sound over and over again, so not only will no one hear anything inside the house, but the house will also not block any of the usual sounds people would hear under this tree. Okay, you think thoroughly? This next one doesn't really have a name yet, but it's meant to slowly release a scent into the air. Tenzo looked intrigued and stepped closer. You can see that this one is double-sided. On one side, the seal is designed to seal inside it the scent of whatever it is attached to. Each side is connected to each other, and the other side takes the sealed scent and replicates it in mass quantities before releasing it into the air. Naruto reached out one of the 4 windows and attached the seal on the outside of the wall. This is a white oak tree, so it smells faintly of vanilla and is earthy. By attaching it to the outside, it will absorb the natural scent of the wood and expand it out, providing a cover for the people inside the house. This could be useful under very specific circumstances, Tenzo admitted, like if you were hunted by blind ninja hounds. I'm not finished, Ni-chan, cried the boy, making his brother laugh. We've so far blocked out sound and smell. Next we will block out our chakra signatures. Naruto smirked as Tenzo raised a brow. This is what I call a chakra expansion seal. It attaches to a chakra signature and enlarges its signature. I made this a long time ago, but it's not useful at all in combat situations, so I forgot about it. What I didn't figure out was that everything in nature has chakra flowing through them, including trees. Okay, muttered Tenzo as he watched Naruto reach out the window again and attach the tag to the tree. This seal will attach itself and leach into the chakra network of the tree, greatly amplifying its signature. It doesn't make the chakra stronger or anything, but it expands the tree's natural chakra aura significantly. Normally, the tree's natural chakra aura would only cover itself around its branches, but now, I've expanded it to cover everything under its canopy, effectively hiding our chakra signatures. Tenzo hummed. I guess this could fool some novice sensors, but against more advanced users, it would still stand out too much. And if a Hyuga would see it with their Byakugan, they'd see an abnormally large tree, which would also stand out. True, but this is just the start. Naruto grinned. The second last seal of the day. This is the one I spent the last 2 days making. Tenzo chuckled. Let's see it. Here it is, a portable genjutsu generator. The boy smirked as Tenzo stepped closer to look. I've always wondered if I could ever use genjutsu with my chakra reserves. A few days ago, I realized that I actually don't have to cast the genjutsu myself, but seal it within a seal. How so? We cast genjutsu by projecting our chakra in a very specific and precise way into an enemy's chakra network. This complexity is usually done by hand signs and very precise chakra control, which I found I can easily replicate on paper. Naruto held his seal in his hand, and it was much larger than the rest, and was filled with inscriptions Tenzo didn't recognize. What you see here is the hand signs for the first half of the genjutsu, Magen, Jubakusatsu, Tree Binding Death, layered in seal script. If I send chakra through this tag, which will only take a fixed amount of chakra, only enough for the jutsu, and channel it through these layers, I am essentially forming and molding the chakra as if I am forming the hand signs. Tenzo's eyes widened. This seal will then cast this genjutsu on anyone who looks at it, but I thought that wasn't good enough. The seal is small and not eye-catching, but there is a way around it, a way to supplement it. What I can do is connect this seal with the other seals I placed around this place by chakra string. By connecting it to the scent seal and the sound seal, I can make anyone who smells or hears any of my seals experience this genjutsu. He smirked. Even better is the chakra expansion seal. By connecting this genjutsu to the expanded chakra of the tree, the entire tree becomes the visual conduit of the genjutsu, meaning that anyone looking at this tree would experience the genjutsu. Naruto whispered Tenzo, jaw slightly dropped. Of course, this particular genjutsu isn't dangerous. It will only cast an illusion of what this tree used to look like, so most people who would walk by, whether they see, smell, or hear anything coming from this tree, they will fall under my genjutsu. Naruto smiled proudly. Individually, these seals aren't very useful, but when I combine all of them together like this, it becomes a multi-layered security system. Started Tenzo. How long can these seals last? On their own, not very long, only a couple of hours. If I'm in the treehouse, I can easily refill the chakra inside the seals myself, but if I'm away, they won't last long. This is amazing. Naruto grinned. Oh, I'm not done. My last seal of the day. The chakra battery. Tenzo knelt down to look, staring closely at another large seal. This one is by far the simplest, but it completes the seal. You are looking at a simple explosive tag, just with a different outlet. A regular explosive tag stores chakra, usually Katon chakra, and releases it all in one instant, causing an explosion. This one stores general chakra, no nature specified, and is altered to release the chakra in a controlled, steady flow. Naruto placed it on the ground next to the genjutsu generator. By connecting this to the genjutsu generator and the other seals, the battery will feed its chakra into them, essentially increasing the entire system's operational time to over a day. Of course, it depends on how much chakra I seal into the battery, but for me, it's just a very small amount. Tenzo only looked on in shock, making Naruto smile. Now, let's activate all of them. Forming a hand sign, Naruto flared his chakra and activated all his seals, all connected to each other by chakra string. The genjutsu generator was attached to the floor of the treehouse, the battery right next to it, both attached by chakra strings that led to each silencing seal, sound seal, sense seal, and chakra expansion seal. All glowed with a soft blue as they activated, casting the complete illusion of the senses. With this on, Ino-chan and I can do whatever we want in here and no one will know. Tenzo stared down at his brother, wondering if his desire to have privacy with his girlfriend seriously made him invent one of the most versatile, ingenious, possibly life-saving seal system Konoha had ever seen. With this system, camping out in the open during missions would no longer be an issue. Entire buildings could be hidden with it. It was a simple concept, just hiding the plain sight. More importantly, the fact that Naruto was able to recreate the molding effects of hand signs in his seals, effectively allowing him to seal and release jutsu by tags. This could possibly revolutionize Konoha's entire arsenal. It was too early to say, but with years still remaining in Naruto's training, he could expand and perfect these seals. This could give Konoha a huge advantage over the other great nations. So, what do you think, Ni-chan? The boy had a huge grin on his face. Do you think Ino-chan will like it? Tenzo could only stare at Naruto and wonder what other inventions his brother's little girlfriend could inspire.